eternity. I thank you.
All the best to Monica Juma there, the CS of Defense. Now, Kenya's missed opportunity to have Parliament pass the 2/3 gender rule dampened Monday celebrations to mark the first 10 years of the National Gender and Equality Commission officiating at the event. Now, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobia said that all is not lost and called on the Commission not to relent but work towards ensuring that the 13th Parliament it's gender compliant. Timothy Kipnutsu attended the event and filed the following report.
National Gender and Equality Commission on Monday celebrated 10 years since its inception. It is here that the Commission Chair, Dr. Joyce Mutinda, urged the national government to allocate more funds to enable them propel their agenda to all the 47 counties.
The demand is overwhelming, while our reach is inadequate. I think you heard our Vice Chair talk about 5 regional offices. The Constitution envisages we should be in every county.
Dr. Mutinda has, however, revealed that the Commission has achieved much impetus in matters related to gender-based violence. She also said the Commission has so far done 80 audits in the transport sector, the status of child care, the state of the boy child, and that of the judiciary, even as she called for other government entities to subject themselves to the audit queries to confirm gender compliance.
We also did guidelines on mainstreaming of issues of youth, PWD, women in annual public performance contract processes.
Public Service Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobia, who was the chief guest, expressed frustration over Parliament's failure to pass the 2/3 gender rule.
I think this is really what broke kind of new horizon on how we can work around equality, not just for gender equality, also equity. We can't keep on repeating the same thing that we have done before, but all we want to keep our eyes on the ball, that the next Parliament can need to be compliant.
The CS, however, said her ministry has established and implemented policies to address any inequalities. Devolution CS Eugene Omalo, in the meantime, has called on the county governments to unmask what refer to entrenched marginalization in counties.
This is critical because for a long time as a country, we have been blaming session paper number 10 of 1965 for entrenching marginalization. But with the devolution policy, we were able to bring about a paradigm shift that has seen the end of marginalization.
The theme of this year's celebration is promoting gender equality and freedom from discrimination for special interest groups.
While now, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has challenged those opposing implementation of the competency-based curriculum to offer a better syllabus, saying the current model has proven to be the best. Professor Magoha, who was in Baringa County for the groundbreaking ceremony for the reconstruction of Salabani Primary School, says plans are at an advanced stage to establish a junior secondary school across the country.
Salabani Primary School in Baringo County was submerged following the swelling of Lake Baringo. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha on Monday graced the groundbreaking ceremony for the reconstruction works. It is here that he told of critics of the competency-based curriculum.
So I want to reassure the parents that you don't listen to the naysayers, because just as we are on this side of the divide, the poor also have very intelligent children, and they will be able to navigate CBC with what they have.
Professor Magoha pledging to personally oversee the implementation by going to schools across the country, even as he plans to establish junior secondary schools.
As I talk to you now, we are identifying schools which will domicile the junior secondary school at the end of grade 6.
The Education Cabinet Secretary was accompanied by his Labour and Social Protection counterpart Simon Chelugui, who pledged government support for vulnerable children.
In your ministry, we all focus on child protection and rescuing that child and enabling that child, giving them opportunities, empowering them through education to create the future of this country.
Baringo South Member of Parliament Charles Kamuren urged the government to reopen 7 schools which were submerged, affecting the 100% academic transition.
Na hiyo mashule tulikuwa tumefunga mashule 9. Tumejaribu saa hii kufungua, imepaki hiyo ine, umesikia ukiambiwa kwa sababu ya hii mambo ya insecurity.
The reconstruction of Salabani Primary School is being undertaken by a local non-governmental organization, Child Fund Kenya, at a cost of 30 million shillings.
A section of residents from Nairobi and Kiambu counties have been forced to dig deeper into their pockets to buy water for their households as they contend with water rationing. The residents who have been hit by acute water shortage accuse the vendors of taking advantage of the dry taps to reap much from the water business. The development coming as the Council of Governors calls for an urgent review of the Water Act 2016, which allows county governments to receive payments of water bills. Ben Chumba reports.
In the recent days, majority of residents of Nairobi and its environs have been hit by the scarcity of water, a situation which is posing a great challenge to many dwellers.
The commodity is very, very expensive for us. For instance, for about 22 units of water, we pay about 1,400 shillings to the water company.
Many residents who have been forced to dig deeper into their pockets to buy water accuse the water companies of not observing the rationing schedule, claiming some areas have not received water for 2 months.
Tunauzaga kulingana na kwenye umepeleka. Kama ni kwa gorofa unauzaga 30 bob. Kasi ni bali.
Water boozers doing rounds across several estates in Nairobi and its environs as vendors make a killing from the dry taps.
Our own landlords again hike the same price, more either double or something close to that, because we pay around 120 per unit used in a household.
Even as the government calls on Kenyans to adhere to the laid down protocols on COVID-19, the situation is challenging for many residents who are calling on concerned authorities to intervene and remedy the situation.
Being a devolved function, the function should be run by the county government. The only problem is that the national government continues holding the same function, yet it is constitutionally a devolved function.
It will be an exercise in futility if we connect water and people cannot afford water. We know very well that even in Nairobi, people have been paying a lot on water. So I think it's a discussion that we need to hold.
The water shortage brings to the fore unresolved water challenges facing Nairobi residents amid claims of water cartels controlling the supply of the precious commodity in the capital city. This even as Council of Governors calls for an urgent review of the Water Act 2016 to allow county governments receive payments of water bills. In a memorandum to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, the Council of Governors argues that the functions assigned to various institutions established under the Water Act 2016 should be reviewed as they do not respect the functional and institutional integrity of the county governments in the regulation of water sector. However, in what appears to be a disagreement over the water-related functions, the Ministry of Water and Sanitation maintains that the water resources are under the national government and not the county government.
As politics, the National Assembly will convene a special sitting on Wednesday, and on top of the agenda will be to approve the nominees to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The legislators will also receive the report of Education Committee on the persons nominated to serve or at the TSC, or that is the Teachers Service Commission.
The National Assembly will reconvene on Wednesday morning to receive and consider a report of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on the vetting of 4 IEBC Commission whose names were forwarded by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The committee last week vetted Juliana Cherera, Francis Wanderi, Irene Masit and Justus Nyagaya to serve at IEBC.
People want to be listened to. And if you don't listen to people, people will not listen to you.
Well, the Departmental Committee on Education and Research, having considered the nominees of the Teachers Service Commission (TSC), will also present a report for the approval of Dr. Nicodemus Ojuna Anyang, Christine Kahindi, Sharon Jelangat Kisire, Ansita Wafuho, and Selesa Adano Abudo. Meanwhile, Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana has defected from Wiper Party and rejoined Muungano Party. Kibwana now says he will seek the country's presidency on the Muungano Party ticket, adding that he will soon officially launch his presidential bid.
2022 atakuwa katika debe na anaenda katika debe mpaka mwisho. Si ati tunataka tusimame tuseme kwamba tunajaribu, hapana.
The corridors of justice, a man was arraigned in court and charged with attempting to extort 100,000 shillings from Senate Speaker Kenneth Lusaka. Victor Manyanja, alias Joseph Kinothia, appeared before Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi, where he denied 3 corruption charges of impersonating an investigator from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and attempting to extort by threats. The suspect has been remanded at the Industrial Area Remand Prison until September 6th.
The prosecution is alleging that in March 2014, Victor Mayanja identified himself to the then Bungoma governor as an investigator with the EACC. Mayanja is also accused of attempting to extort 100,000 shillings from Lusaka through quid pro quo. Mayanja, who denied the charges, has been remanded until September 6th. Elsewhere, 2 Tanzanians accused of child trafficking have been released on 500,000 bond. Kuvi Paulo Silva and Sita Yohana were charged with trafficking disabled children for exploitation in Kenya. It is alleged that on diverse dates between the year 2019 and 2021 August, jointly with others not before the court, they transported and harbored a disabled child aged 14 years from Tanzania to Sharumoyo in Kenya. The prosecution says the accused had intended to exploit and abuse the child's vulnerability.
To the counties where a new police station manned by newly deployed officers has been opened up in Kanjokoma, Embu County, weeks after the death of the 2 Kanjokoma brothers while in police custody. Elsewhere, the National Assembly Select Committee on National Constituency Development Fund has advised beneficiaries undertaking constructions to consider putting up story buildings in view of land limitation.
Embu North Deputy County Commissioner Jeremiah Tumo assured residents of Kanjokoma that security agencies will continue to work with residents at all times. The sub-county leadership will also facilitate election of new community policy members to work with the Peace Reconciliation Committee on mending the relationship between residents of Kanjokoma and police officers.
We agreed that we must bring a new crop of police officers who are responsive and proactive. We have seen the officers that we have brought before you. They are new and they will build good public relations with you, and they will also implement things in consultation with the leadership.
Elsewhere, the National Assembly Select Committee on National Constituency Development Fund has advised beneficiaries to maximize use of land by constructing story buildings. Committee's chairman Wafula Wamunyinyi, who led legislators in inspecting projects in Nyaribari Chache constituency, Kisii County, announced disbursement of 20 million shillings for construction of Ibeno Mission Primary School.
We have asked the board, the CDF board, to support Mheshimiwa Tongi to provide funding so that they build a primary school that's going to match, with the KMTC around. Wasiweke tu ile primary school ya kienyeji tu ile ya chini chini, ikiwezekana where's the CEO? Musaidie Mheshimiwa provide the funding to build a modern tuition block for the primary school, ikiwezekana gorofa.
In Migori County, a 2-month row between the Migori County Assembly and the Office of the Governor has culminated into a workers' strike. These after Governor Okoth Obado allegedly declined to append a signature on the county's budget estimates, forcing members of the county assembly to review the document.
Tuliwaandikia wanacounty barua ya kwamba kama kuna shida na mshahara ikiwa inachelewa watujulishe. Hawakushughulika, hawakutujibu. tukawapatia na warning letter ya kuwaambia ya kwamba salary tusipopata tuta parade. Hawakutujibu. So tuliwapatia 7 days tena, baada ya barua zimeisha hawajatujibu. Tumekuja hapa mkiangalia milango za county zile zilikuwa zimefunguliwa, walipoona tunaingia wakafunga milango wakakimbia. So it's like tunajiongelesha tuna mtu wa kutujibu.
And West Pokot Governor Professor John Lonyangapuo has faulted security organs over insecurity along the border of West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet counties. Professor Lonyangapuo says Saturday's attack where 3 people aboard a motorcycle were gunned down at Chesegon area has caused tension in the area.
We condemn this behavior, and we will not entertain it whatsoever at all. So we want to hear that our people are going to have calm and peace. And I'm addressing the people of West Pokot who are listening to me now. Please don't take law into your hands. Kindly, I request and I ask you as your leader, let the county commissioner who is here and his team pick our grievances and give us in the shortest time possible after he has talked to his bosses what's going to be done next.
And it is a sigh of relief for 214 students whose parents are fisher folk along Lake Victoria in Bunyala and Samia sub-counties in Busia County after the Busia County Beach Management Unit Network offered them scholarships worth 3 million shillings.
Kumekuwa na changamoto katika jamii ya wavuvi. Changamoto ya kwanza imekuwa upande wa masomo. Ndivyo sisi kama wasimamizi wa hizi beaches katika Busia County tuliona kwamba ni bora, ni vyema tuanzishe mambo ya Busia County BMU Network Scholarship Program.
Finally, a 63-year-old granny from Esharirie, Mbaruk in Gilgil sub-county, Nakuru, is a happy woman after her 2 neighbors who live in the United States gifted her with a new house. For 9 years, Lucy, Mary, Mudhoni and her son have lived in Squela, but things appear to have finally changed for the better.
Ninafurahia Mungu kwa wenye wamenionea huruma wakanijengea. Vile nilikuwa na shida, nyumba yangu ilikuwa inaanguka, lakini Mungu akatuma watu wake wakakuja wakanijengea.
We take a quick breather, but when we come back, we're going to be focusing on matters business as well as sports in regard to those stories that have been making headlines. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Sweetheart, wake up, please, wake
Run him over! Run him over!
I thought Lucretia had him killed. Oh, sorry, no.
I have to get out of here. I can't let them put me in prison. What happened?
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus...
Suluhisho ni mwanamke atoke kwa nyumba. Chachelewa antipili, manake tiketi ankita mizizi.
Na uflet mke wangu umekuwa na hizi homa za ghafla ghafla. Nini ni mbaya my dear?
Kwa siku zote mume wangu mimi wanakuambia huna jicho la kati. Huoni mbele kabisa.
Hiyo kuroga hiyo. Wacha nikwambie nimechoka kuishi na wachawi ndani ya nyumba yangu. So leave my house. Ondoka bwana.
The excitement of the Olympic Games doesn't just stop there, as the biggest para-sports event, the 2020 Paralympic Games, gets underway from the 24th of August to the 5th of September in Tokyo, Japan. So, get ready to be inspired by these sportsmen and women with outstanding abilities, and look out for Team Kenya too in their quest for glory by watching all the highlights daily on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Now on to matters business. If you're joining us, this is in the headlines and you're watching KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Kenya. Now the government is reducing the low tourism season period to 3 months in a new tourism classification plan due to take effect from next year. According to Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala, the government is overhauling the national and game park entry fee by basing it on weather patterns. The revised tourism calendar classification will see the low season restricted to the long rain season during the months of April, May and June, while the remaining months will be categorized as the high season. In Kenya, the low tourist season is usually in April and May, while June to September, as well as January to March, are regarded as a peak season. The period between October and December is regarded as a shoulder season.
First of all, remember during COVID, we gave a 50% discount on both domestic and international visitors. That discount has been extended to end of the year. And then we will revert into a new model. A new model of pricing of KWS parks will be now seasonal. The government is now revising this tourism calendar by restricting the low season to April, June and July, with the rest of the months now classified as tourism high season. High season ourselves is on the rainy season. So it's not about tour, international or domestic market. If it's raining, you can go to the park. This comes in the wake of an intense charm offensive to woo domestic tourists, a niche that is currently contributing over 70% of the tourism industry earnings since the COVID-19 travel restrictions. But the biggest market that we highly appreciate is the domestic market. That has done wonderful, and it has sustained the economy so far. So far, Kenya has recorded 600,000 tourist arrivals in the first half of the year amid growing uncertainty over the COVID-19 pandemic. Balala also said his ministry has received 4 million shillings under the Tembo naming initiative that allows individuals and corporate entities to have an elephant named after them after contributing to the Wildlife Conservation Kitty. The money is going to go into the Conservation Trust Fund. This is a new fund we have created. It's going to be having its own board and chair independently, as well as regulations of how it's going to be managed. Because like this fundraising is done specifically for elephants, it will be ring-fenced only for elephants.
Now you need to travel and visit those various national parks. A 50% discount on entry fee valid until 31st of December this year, and find out why indeed Kenya is an ideal tourist destination. Now, the Kenya Tea Development Agency has imported 65,000 metric tons of fertilizer that would be sold to small-scale farmers at a subsidized rate of 2,500 shillings per bag. KTDA Chairman David Gishoga says the 1.5 million bags consignment will be distributed to farmers in the shortest time before the onset of the short rains.
Speaking in Mombasa during an induction workshop for 54 tea factories managers on good corporate governance, KTDA Chairman David Gichoge said there is a need to maximize on available opportunities presented by the subsidized fertilizer to boost production. Gichoge urged farmers not to resell the subsidized fertilizers but use it to increase production.
Reforms is still ongoing, and we are also engaging various stakeholders to ensure that the reform are able, including the implementation of the Act 2020, Tea Act, and we engage with the various stakeholders to ensure that these reforms are geared to ensure that the farmers benefit more. We have one court cases that I think there's a consolidated case where hopefully the case will be able to be concluded so that we are able to move forward and be able to help farmers.
KTDA plans to subsidize the fertilizer to make it affordable to farmers. He said among other issues they discussed with the managers of tea factories is improvement of infrastructure for safe transportation of tea, value addition, more marketing of tea, and sustainable economic activity to improve living standards of farmers.
We are proposing, and as part of the pillar that we have, we want to ensure that also we encourage the diversification. And due to our competitive advantage, we're able to encourage farmers to participate in other economic activities, including avocados, tree fruit farmings, cow keeping, all form of livestock, to ensure that they're able to get more stream of income to be able to move forward. So we are urging and requesting for patience as we continue. We will be able to do the reforms that we are going.
To the corporate scene, where Kakamega County government plans to set up a smart agriculture farms in all sub-counties through aquaculture and livestock. Kakamega Governor Oparanya says the project will be financed by a 120 million shillings allocation, targeting to enhance aquaculture farming among other value chains in agriculture, irrigation and veterinary services. Details of this and other stories from the corporate scene.
Kakamega County is backing smart farming to enable residents diversify their farming activities. So far, smart farms have been set up in Lurambi, Matungo, Lugari and Quisero sub-counties. The county government plans to spend 120 million shillings in establishing smart farms in the remaining constituencies.
KTTC is in the process of identifying land for establishment of smart farms in all the remaining sub-counties. A budget of 120 million Kenya shillings has been set aside for the same in this financial year.
Oparanya believes Kakamega County has a capacity to produce 1,800 metric tons of fish in a 7-month production cycle. Meanwhile, companies have been encouraged to scale up production of solar equipment to support water access in the country, especially in arid and semi-arid areas. Davis and Shatleaf Group Chair Alec Davis says there is need to utilize solar energy in sourcing and distributing water for the masses and promoting irrigation to support livelihoods.
That businesses have a wider responsibility in the community than to make money for the shareholders. So everywhere we look we look for communities that are really suffering through the lack of water, and so obviously we assess projects on the basis of the needs of the people.
Finally, a group of women beach operators from Malindi have turned to manufacturing coconut oil to earn a living following the dwindling tourism sector. The 39-member group say most local tourists have been asking for the coconut oil, which lured them to begin producing it right at the beach.
Now, Kenya yesterday bagged her first medal at the ongoing Tokyo Paralympic Games after Nancy Chelagat won a bronze medal in the women's 1500 meters T11 category at the Olympic Stadium. Chelagat clocked 4 minutes 45 seconds to finish third behind Rodriguez Saavedra of Mexico and Cosette Luzan of South Africa, who won a gold and silver respectively.
Kenya's elusive medal at this year's Paralympic Games here in Tokyo, Japan, finally presented itself this morning courtesy of Nancy Chelagat Koech in the 1500 meters T11 final. Nancy, a silver medalist at the Rio Paralympic Games, guided by his elder brother Geoffrey Kiplagat, fought hard to deliver a bronze medal for Kenya in a race which saw Mexican athlete Monica Olivia Saavedra smashing the world record in a time of 4 minutes 37.40 seconds. Nancy, who was encouraged by his brother Geoffrey, registered her season's best time of 4 minutes 45.58 seconds.
Nilijaribu kabisa. Ya mwisho, bratangu akaniambia hii ni ya mwisho Chela. Kick. Na nika-kick. Nikafika 200, akaniambia umefika 200. Ngangania Chela, karibu tushika hawa. Twende. Nikaenda.
Ingawaje tulikuwa tumeluso, but nikaongelesha yeye. Nikaongelesha, so akatia bidii. Tukamwambia bado 400 meters, tukafika 300, 200 ndio akajikakamua vizuri, akaweka bidii yake. So kuna mwingine tulikuwa tunafuata, nikamwambia mwenye tunafuata si mbali, na ingawaje yeye alikuwa mbali, lakini nilikuwa naambia njoo aweke bidii.
Kenya's ambassador here in Japan, Her Excellency Tabu Irina, immediately made a call to congratulate Nancy for the achievement.
Yes.
Hongera sana.
Thank you. Kongoi kabisa.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
There was drama in the men's 1500 meter T11 heats, which witnessed Kenyan athlete Eric Kipto-Sang and his guide David Korir being brought down by Brazilian athlete Agripino dos Santos to finish last in the heat. The Kenyan officials, led by the president of KNPC Agnes Olwoch and Secretary General Elijah Aliero, appealed immediately and Eric Sang was reinstated to advance to tomorrow's finals, while the Brazilian disqualified under Rule 18.2b, which prohibits obstruction in a race. KNPC Secretary General Elijah Aliero explains on the appeal.
Kwa sasa tumefanya appeal na yule mchezaji wetu amekubalika kwamba kesho ataweza kuingia katika finali. Maana walipocheza ile video wakakubaliana na sisi kwamba ni kweli alifanya kusukumwa.
Eric Sang and his guide runner David Korir speaks about their encounter.
You are well prepared. We are ready to fight for it. Yeah, that's what I can promise you. With my athlete, I promise you we are well prepared.
Niko na endurance ya kutosha. Niko na mileage. Naamini 1500 itachikamua. Mungu tu atuongoze.
Tomorrow's final race, which is slated for 9:38 a.m., will see Eric Sang having a new guide runner, Eric Kirui, following his usual guide, David Korir, being injured. It will be Kenya's last event at this year's Paralympic Games. Reporting for KBC from Tokyo, Japan, I am Elena Shiveka.
Is Elena Shiveka, a sports veteran there, reporting from Tokyo, Japan, where we're having the Olympics ongoing. Now, the national men and women volleyball squads for this year's Africa Cup of Nations have been named ahead of the continental event to be held in Rwanda early next month. The men's team will be first to leave on the 5th of next month.
The national volleyball teams that will represent the country at the Africa Cup of Nations in Rwanda next month have been named. The Kenyan teams will compete at the continental event, fighting for a place to represent the continent at the World Championships to be held next year. The men's event will begin on the 5th of next month, the day the Kenyan team leaves, while Malkia Strikers will compete from the 10th of next month. Meanwhile, Garissa, a Kenyan town less known for football, has produced the winner of the annual East Africa Ligindogo Cup after Berlin FC were crowned under-19 champions. The tourney that was held in Kisamis, Kajiado County, attracted only 46 teams from Kenya, as Tanzania and Uganda were not able to register any teams due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Finally, the campaign to rename part of the Indian Ocean to Africa Ocean continued to gain momentum as the team behind the campaign held a hockey tournament to spearhead their cause in Mombasa. The 2-month tournament, Oceanic Hockey Circuit, sponsored by the African Ocean Campaign, came to a close last evening with two thrilling final stages at the Aryan Sports Club in Mombasa. In the first final, Mombasa Sports Club ladies team secured a comfortable 3-0 win over Swans, while their male counterparts suffered a 5-1 defeat to Daikyo Heroes.
Well, that puts a cap on Matters News. Remember, you can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. But before we get into a conversation about Kenya's saving culture, we're going to be giving you, or rather bringing you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines on our various dailies. But for now, we'll take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
All right, so after that, now let's move to the next segment where we're going to give you a rundown on what's been happening on our local dailies here. And I have the Star newspaper as well as the People Daily. But let me start with the Star newspaper and what's on the front page. Uhuru wants Raila to climb Mount Kenya alone. That is what's on the splash of the Star newspaper. Uhuru wants Raila to climb Mount Kenya alone. President's handlers believe ODM leader best placed to weave and package his message before they jump in. It is said that fear of state project tag holding Kenyatta back from leading campaigns, and that is what's on the front page here of the Star newspaper. And pictorials, perhaps you can just zoom in as well. Again, you can see that is the Deputy President William Ruto having a fist stamp there with the administration police officers who are deployed to guard his private residence and official residence in Karen, and some pictorials therein where the Deputy President said that he shared a cup of tea with the new security detail. That is the administration police officers who were deployed to guard his residence in official residence in Karen, in Nairobi. So that is that. Families agonizing wait after loved ones' enforced disappearance, as the world marked International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances yesterday. Al Husni Mubarak's family wanted to have him back alive or dead. Husni was abducted on May 25th, 2018 after an afternoon prayer in Mwembe Tayari. Since then, he's never been seen. Again, One Kenya Alliance, that is OKA, to launch in October and pick flag bearer for 2022 election. The One Kenya Alliance could unveil its presidential flag bearer in mid-October. The Star has established that the principals have directed the technical team drafting the coalition's documents to complete the exercise next month. That is what's expected as far as that is concerned. And still in politics, Uhuru moves to stop Speaker Muturi's rise. His moves are said to have act power brokers scheming succession. President Kenyatta, who has been engaging in talks with opposition leaders to fashion a formidable formula against DP William Ruto, last weekend held a closed-door meeting with Meru leaders to align them behind his plan. According to sources, the objective of the meeting was to craft a plan to rein in National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, who has announced his bid for presidency next year. The meeting, which was held in the State House, Nairobi, was attended by, among others, Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi, his Tharaka Nithi counterpart Mudhomi Njuki, Meru Senator Mithika Linturi, Kenya Revenue Authority Chairman Ambassador Francis Mudhaura, Igembe North MP Mauka Maore, and officials of the powerful Njuri Ncheke Council of Elders. So that is what's happening right now. Others at the meeting were LAPSET Transport Corridor Chairman Titus Ibui and Industrialization PS Peter Kaberia. All right. Before I give it to you, Jen, chiefs asked to identify people to be armed in locations. All right? So those identified will be required to attend county security committees for vetting before the chief's licensing firearms officer is required to provide them with a permit for the same. Now, this will reportedly, among others, ensure that the areas are protected from marauding criminals in their areas. But of course, there is that opposition from the IG's office saying that that will create a parallel police unit in the locations. The office of the IG is said to cite law that states all firearms and police must be under his office, and does not understand why NGAO, that is National Gun Owners Association, is keen on the plan. So that is what's happening on the front page and the second page of the Star newspaper.
Let's now quickly have a look at the Daily Nation. Just two stories that have managed to be featured here. But we start with this particular story here on the header, looking at gambling and the pain and consequently death and tears that comes along with it. And here they have featured the story of one graduate who actually took his own life. And this was back on the 2nd of July 2016. A Bachelor of Commerce graduate who took his life after he lost an 80,000 bet. That is a bet that he had placed on a game between Italy and Germany during the night of the Euro Cup semi-finals between Italy and Germany. A game which he lost and consequently lost that money, and at the end of it all, he decided to commit suicide. That is a story that has been given prominence here. But coming to the main read, politicians take 2022 battle to the church. Now, there has been a ban on public gatherings, this also including rallies, and of course, in order to cap the spread of COVID-19. So what are our politicians doing now? Well, they are taking their campaigns to the church, and there has been a lot of unease and muted protests from some religious leaders as some top politicians turned the pulpit into a campaign platform, consequently blurring the line that separates the church from the state. But on the other hand, for some pastors, it is harvest time, as the heavyweights do not come empty-handed. Now, this story has been featured on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation, and it talks of how just this past weekend, ODM leader Raila Odinga, Deputy President William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, ANC leader, as well as Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, all made appearances and comments in various churches across the country and the different places that they were. All of them made political pronouncements when they were given a chance to say hi to the congregation, but at the end of the day, it did turn a bit political from all of the utterances that they made. And then again, this of course has been termed as the 2022 vote hunting mission that has been taken to churches. We have seen the Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop, that is Jackson Ole Sapit, say that it is a very worrisome trend that has already taken a firm grip, to say the least. And he went on to say that we must safeguard the pulpit for its sole purpose, and that is worship, and therefore refuse to hand over mics to politicians while inside the church. They should do their politics out there and not bring them to the churches. And just a while back, we did see the PCEA also come out to try and gag the politicians, but it did not really stand. And they say that the altar will not be used by politicians to advance their interests. And on the other hand, they also acknowledge that it is a sad thing that for some pastors, they have realized it is now time to harvest. We don't know what is being harvested and when it was planted, but for most of them, these politicians never come empty-handed. They always come with handouts and some form of compensation to give, and consequently, when they are given these opportunities to greet the congregation, they always turn and start politicking at the pulpit. And that is something that the church is trying to work around, to just make sure that politics are not, part of the agenda of what happens at church. And finally, the scramble for COVID-19 vaccine in counties. And according to a spot check that was done by this particular daily, they revealed that there are long queues at vaccination centers with teachers, security officers, county workers, and health workers seeking to get vaccinated. And this is following the recent threat by government to withhold salaries for civil servants who will not have been vaccinated. And on the other hand, CS Kagwe ruled out the private importation of COVID-19 for the private sector who would want to import this, but still said that they will import this, but this has to be through the Ministry of Health via their representative, that is KEPSA. That is the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Ray.
Well, the front page of the Standard doesn't have much. It seems repetitive of what the other scribes have captured on the front pages. The issue of panic as the president plans a big shake-up. There's talk of a looming reshuffle. Anxiety grips Uhuru's inner circle as it emerges that he's in the process of reorganizing government to accommodate opposition leaders, with some CSs, CASs and PSs on the chopping board as a president enters the home stretch. We're going to be giving details, but that's what we have on the front page. Actually, the big read on the front page of the Standard this morning. Other than that, just recapping that win by Chelagat there in the Tokyo Olympics games that are underway in Tokyo. Then also a big report, Big Tuesday, we talk matters finances, and now a report has been released, the Kenya's middle class meltdown. Remember, in not too long, we're also going to be putting matters of savings into perspective. Why are Kenyans still not saving? So remember, you can reach us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News, at Jane Wamboy, at Victor Law, and at Regina Manyara. That is at Ray Manyara. Well, that's what we have on the front page. Maybe we can get to the details. Victor.
Absolutely. All right. So in politics here, why Uhuru wants Raila to climb the mountain alone? It said that the region, which is projected to have an excess of 6 million votes next year, will for the first time not present a joint presidential candidate, setting it up for grabs as Uhuru retires. However, there are fears that campaigns led by the incumbent would be counterproductive by packaging Raila a government project, and that will be a massive campaign tool by the opponents. There's also need to streamline and manage Raila's messaging to ensure it appeals to the region. Again, the president's men believe Raila is the only person who can best weave and package his Mount Kenya messages before they jump in to reinforce them. So there is that fear that the president might not jump directly to campaign for Raila Odinga, but that is something that some of the politicians here allied to ODM leader Raila Odinga and President Kenyatta say at the right time, the president will jump in. As I always say, it's just a matter of wait and see. Now, Mochache and Kagwe admit COVID-19 ravaging villages, vaccines stolen. Health Principal Secretary says that deaths are going unreported as the lethal Delta becomes dominant in Kenya. So the government has admitted that villages have many unreported COVID-19 deaths. This was announced at a time when the government was confessing that vaccines are being stolen. Jane and Regina, I would like us to take a break at that particular point. And even you, as a viewer, just think about that. Vaccines are being stolen. We'll be right back after this break.
The excitement of the Olympic Games doesn't just stop there, as the biggest para-sports event, the 2020 Paralympic Games, gets underway from the 24th of August to the 5th of September in Tokyo, Japan. So, get ready to be inspired by these sportsmen and women with outstanding abilities, and look out for Team Kenya too in their quest for glory by watching all the highlights daily on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
All right, and welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Kenya. This is In the Headlines. Now, before you took a break, I was giving this story where the government has now admitted that COVID-19 ravaging villages and vaccines being stolen. Let me just quote what the PS said. Now, the PS Mochachi yesterday told a parliamentary committee that the government was unable to track all village deaths given the lack of pathologists in the rural counties. She said the daily figures being released by the government only capture deaths in hospitals. Regina, let's start by what the government says that the vaccines are being stolen. Did you have to get this point, or it was just a matter of time?
I think it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of time, and we have seen this happen with even relief food. Remember, there was a time we were doing the distribution of relief food, and trucks and sacks of relief food up and
the maize
disappeared.
flour, the wheat flour, all those.
After a few weeks, months, they were being resold.
Repackaged. And actually, some of them were in the shelves with the government of Kenya label, remember?
That is it. That's what I'm
Not for
talking
sale.
about.
Not for sale, yes.
Yes.
Audacity too.
Yes. So for me, it was just a matter of time. Remember, there was a story where a certain Kenyan was arrested abroad for hawking, apparently, is it COVID?
Yes, holy oil.
Holy oil.
In the UK, actually.
Wait for it. In the next few weeks, now that we have had an influx of these vaccines, you will be walking around in several places of the central business district. Madam, dawa ya COVID. Madam. That is going to happen. That is going to happen. I don't know if it's our culture. I don't know if it's poverty, but this for me was a disaster in waiting. And even to show you that this is where we were heading all along, there was a report that was made that Kenyans were making money from the queues at the vaccination points, where some arrive as early as 5 a.m. They are on the queue.
You wait for
someone. Who is coming in at 9 a.m., they ask you, nikupe nafasi. Uko na haraka. And you part with 1,000 or 500 shillings, depending on where they are in the queue. So this get quick or get it easy mentality that Kenyans have is what is bringing us down every now and then. And what these people who are stealing this vaccine are not seeing is that people are dying. People are suffering. And we know, you don't have to know someone who knows someone who knows someone who has had COVID or succumbed to the virus to know that it is real. The statistics.
Let me just weigh in here. Jen.
Yeah.
The CS said that facilities are charging Kenyans at either 50 shillings or 100 shillings to get the jab. What else? The CS said that nobody knows this, and I quote, nobody knows what vaccines they are using. Nobody knows whether they are actual vaccines or whatever it could be, or anything else that they are vaccinating with.
It could be water.
Let me give you a case in point. A colleague and a friend that I know went to take the jab, and when they came, they were like, maze, hata after hiyo kudungwa sindano sisikii chochote. So I asked them, umedungwa nini? AstraZeneca, Moderna, what? Ambia hata sijui. I'm like, hold up.
These are damning reports.
So you've taken an injection, vaccination, you don't know what you've been given. And then?
But guess how many people are doing that?
People
how many
are not
are there that are doing that?
Questions. You need to ask, okay, fine, I'm on the queue, I'm here to receive the vaccine. Madam or gentleman, you with the gloves, ready to inject me, what are you injecting me?
And this is why...
From the vial you're picking the vaccine from, have a look at it. No one tells you not to check.
And this is why...
due diligence onto ourselves.
It boils down to us as individuals to also do our due diligence and understand which are the centers that have been delegated and tasked and given the responsibility to vaccinate. Because it is not every every other health facility that can just give you this particular vaccine.
Yeah.
But now, as per what the CS said, there were companies that wanted to import the private companies that wanted to import the vaccine and start vaccinating on their own. But now he said that those companies that wish to import the COVID-19 vaccines, they are free to do so, but they must channel all their purchases through the Ministry of Health, and that is through their representative, that is KEPSA. And this way, they will deposit their funds through the national the treasury to the accounts of the health ministry, who then will take up those funds, procure the vaccines, and they can be able to get them again through KEPSA. No one will be allowed to import those vaccines individually or as a single entity, especially so in the private sector. But he also went on to say that when it comes to the vaccination bit, it will be free of charge.
Yeah, but here
no one is going to be charged. Yes,
50, 100 shillings.
And those are those two discrepancies that come into play when you do not really understand or know if the facility that you're going to has actually been allowed to give these vaccines. Because I do believe we get messages, this and this hospital, this and this facilities are giving vaccines.
Yeah. But I think it's quite imperative for us here as a media to state and let us tell the public that the government does not charge anyone for a vaccine. That is something that the government has said over and over and over again. The vaccine was procured by the government for you. So no medical facility should charge you 50 shillings or 100 shillings for you to take that jab. And that is why it's a drive by the government for each and every person to go out there and take that jab. So I think it's just important to say, and for us with authority here, to tell you that the government does not charge. So
but you see, that's now where people get smarter. Utasikia hiyo 50 ni sijui ni syringe na the needle, hiyo 50 sijui ni gloves, hiyo 100 sijui ni nini. Unapata those two added costs, ndio unaambiwa sasa unalipia hiyo.
But Regina, have you ever heard of a situation of that kind where people are being charged of, there's that medical card, but then people can get crafty. You have to get a card. Everything is done online, so you don't need a card.
Okay. Let's say this, and I'm going to say it without fear or favor. We are too capitalistic. We are out to gain at people's pain.
Yeah.
At whatever cost.
So, government is rolling out a vaccination exercise free of charge.
Yeah.
You have been nominated as a facility to offer this vaccine. And you use gloves. Yes, and I'm sure when these PPEs are being delivered, they're also free. So why would you be charging a Regina who's come in for a job 50 shillings and purport it's for the needle,
the gloves,
and such. So such facilities that are charging that, the question is then, did you have this conversation with government and say, and government needs also to be open and say, by the way, we have subsidized this because of other than the vaccine is free, but the gloves, the needles, the whatnot are not free. That's why you're going to be receiving this job at a cost of 50 shillings. And them going for the lower denomination, that is 50 and 100, is to make you feel as if you're not paying for it.
Yeah.
But if we're doing the numbers, of the people that have so far been vaccinated, let's take for an instance a center that is going to vaccinate 100,000 people. Do your quick math.
Times 50.
Or even times 100.
Yeah.
It is still monies that these facilities are collecting. So when we are saying, or whether when government comes out and say that the vaccination exercise is free, have they taken? Yes, they have taken. They have taken care of the vaccine itself. Have they taken care of the syringe that is going to use to vaccinate me? Right? Have they taken care of the gloves that are going to be used, the PPEs, that this person is going to be donning to give me this service. Basically, have they taken care of the front office and the back office in as far as the vaccination exercise is concerned? Because what this means, the Ministry of Health maintains that this is a free exercise. But when they get on ground, the situation on ground is totally different. So Wanjiko is there between taking that jab, yes, and the facility that says you can only take this jab, yes, but 50 shillings or 100 bob.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's do this. Perhaps we tell our viewers from wherever you are on our social media, what is your experience out there? Have you been charged 50 shillings, 100 shillings, and just mention which hospital was that? All right? Wherever you are from, just get to our social media or tag us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, at Victor Law, at Jen Wamboy, at Regina. Talk to us. Tell us wherever you're watching from. Go to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and tell us where this has been happening. And, you know, our work is just to tell you as it is. You're not supposed to be charged for the vaccine. All right?
Absolutely.
All right. Moving on.
Yes. Let me bring you to the Daily Nation. Jimmy Wanjigi. Now, Wanjigi says SGR cost was inflated 10 times over.
Yeah.
Okay? So Kenyans were never supposed to pay the surplus of 500 billion for the construction of the SGR. He says the price was inflated 10 times over. Now, in his own claims, which is yet to be proven true or false, he claims that he birthed the SGR idea back in 2008. And he says the construction line from Mombasa to Malaba originally was meant to cost 55 billion and was to be funded privately. And the whole idea behind the SGR was meant to be for like a real estate project, how you would take up a real estate project. It wasn't meant to involve the government. The only part that the government would be involved was the land on which the track was passing. So he says that the project was exaggerated 10 times over, and this was what the feasibility studies showed after the Jubilee administration took over. In his words, quoted here, SGR was a project birthed by me in 2008 with some company, with the same company rather, called China Road and Bridge. We birthed it. We spent a lot of money doing feasibility and technical studies. The intention when we began was that the rail was to be a private rail, nothing to do with government. The only part that the government was supposed to be involved in was to provide the land, which we were prepared to lease. It was like a real estate project. End of quote. He says, now looking at the figure, as per under the Jubilee administration, the railway costed 327 billion. That is from Mombasa to Nairobi. Another 150 billion went to the distance between Nairobi and Naivasha, while Naivasha to Kisumu, it was projected to cost another $380 billion, a billion Kenya shillings rather, but it didn't come to fruition due to the lack of funding, and they resorted to upgrade the meter gauge railway line.
Yeah.
But the cost of the SGR is not news. We have had this conversation over and over and over again.
And just last week, there was also another story here on the Daily Nation concerning two petitioners who had written to the High Court demanding that the AG, who is also involved in one way or the other, the contract to put up the SGR, to disclose the details of the contract and the finances that were involved. There's a 450 billion that was being questioned. And as per that petition, the AG said that it was this petition that is being fronted by these two guys is not grounded in any true facts or anything. And should he get his way, we will never get to know the details. As Kenyans, that is, we will never get to know the details of this particular contract that involved the SGR.
Yeah. It has been a very big elephant in the room
Billions,
ever since. Yeah,
man.
Billions.
Nabadu.
And to see now, after the construction, the Chinese government will also have to be cashing in their money to the government as well. So it's some of this information we might not be privy to, but the government and all the stakeholders are very much alive to the fact. Regina, from the business desk, you've been covering this story for quite a long time, and we can never exhaust this story of SGR. What do you think about it, Regina?
You see, for me, right now, what I'm thinking, whenever a politician speaks to that matter, I'm just thinking this is clout chasing, trying to remain relevant because we are in the campaign season already, from the look of things in the political arena. Then it takes me back to before the Madaraka Express actually was operationalized. There was a conversation as to why was the SGR, the one that runs through Kenya, more expensive than what Ethiopia is doing, you know, the electric and such. And there was that comparison, and business scribes across the country did the math, compared, and we even asked government, why is it X, Y, Z? And remember, this was also funded by the African Development Bank. So when the negotiations, and there was a very controversial piece that was aired and put on print in one of the media houses that we have in the country, and it sparked a lot of controversy, even where the reporter was put in question as a source of his to reveal his sources, because it went further to say what Kenya stood to lose if it defaulted on the loan that was taken and granted for the construction of this particular railway line. So the conversation around the SGR is murky at best. From its returns, and if at all there was a transfer of skill from the Chinese who had the contract to our local contractors, and if there was any other need for such another mega project that we would not need to get expatriates to come do it for us, because we have tried it with the SGR, we have the requisite skills to go forth to do something similar or better going forward. There's been those questions. Was it value for money? What do we stand to lose if we fail to pay up on the loan? Skills transfer, how have the people who worked on this particular rail, how were they treated? There were all these issues. So for me, this is just a statement from an aspirant who, you know, they have
those
to say
are very
this.
big claims for him to make.
Yes, until they are
proven true or false.
Yes, they remain aspects of speculation, utterances that were made in a political gathering or such. But I'm sure the relevant authorities charged with this can look into the claims. So who are we? We were just saying this is what person XYZ said about matter XYZ. But where it comes to concerns the SGR, there's a lot that has been said over the years.
And not said.
Right.
Now, as we draw closer and closer to the end of this particular segment, I'm sure you guys have caught wind of Hurricane Ida.
Yes.
And this reminds me of this whole narrative why some devastating natural phenomenon are named after women. But we'll not get deeper into that. But looking at Hurricane Ida, which has been categorized as a level 4 hurricane. Let me just get that. Yes, category 4 storm this past Sunday that comes 16 years after Hurricane Katrina has devastated New Orleans. This is onto some international news. It has battered the southern U.S. state of Louisiana, leaving at least one person dead. They're yet to get full stock of the consequences or the damage that has been done. It has knocked out power for more than 1 million people, including the whole of New Orleans. It is said to have slammed the Louisiana coast at under category 4 storms this past Sunday, and it weakened the whole tropical storm. It weakened rather come Monday. After knocking out power for the larger part of New Orleans. However, and this is according to the Power Outage US, they have backup power in New Orleans, a sewage and water board, and this is to just operate the pumps that are used to control flooding, to just ensure that the damage is not getting worse, because as it stands, the waters are rapidly rising and they have topped 7.5 feet high. So that is the current situation of what is happening there in Louisiana as well as New Orleans. And there was some videos that were also circulating where we did see this particular hurricane just rip off the entire roof of a clinic facility. Ni kama inadhandura mbembe. Ilibeba, just to understand how heavy and how devastating this particular hurricane was. And this is where we just start appreciating our weather here. We do not have such extremes as they do in the West. So hata tukicomplain kajoto kamezidi ama kabaridi kamezidi, let us just understand that we don't get to experience these hurricanes as often as our brothers and sisters in the West get to experience them. Victor.
Okay. So let me drop the star and pick the People Daily quickly. Let me take you through the pages here. Matiang'i to meet MPs on Ruto guards. That's on the front page of the People Daily. Matiang'i to meet MPs on Ruto guards. Interior CS will be accompanied by Kibisho and Mutiambai to shed light on the recent changes in DP's security detail. That is on the front page of the People Daily. Why Raila faces 2022 steep climb. ODM leader is running out of time to reinvent himself after the central region, on which he had banked on his candidacy, is proving a hard nut. He needs new friends and a fresh message. That is on the front page of the People Daily. Still on that story of coronavirus, why coronavirus deaths are higher than reported. Remember, we told the government admitted that the deaths are high in the villages due to lack of pathologists to ascertain the real cause of deaths there, and vaccines are being stolen. All right. Kagwe lashes out at politicians for using vaccine for own gain. Again, we expected that. We've seen situations where politicians brand, even the government, donated items. So donated by Victor, by Jane, for political gains. It's quite synonymous with Kenya. So we can say that there's nothing new there. All right. So why Raila faces steep climb to win 2022 poll. There's a very interesting read there. You can take a look at that particular story on the People Daily. Again, Uhuru nominates CS Juma for top Commonwealth job. President expresses optimism in Defense Minister's ability as a distinguished diplomat. President Uhuru Kenyatta has nominated Defense Cabinet Secretary Dr. Monica Juma for the post of Secretary General of the Commonwealth. To demonstrate his confidence in Monica, the head of state noted how she served well as Principal Secretary in the Foreign Affairs docket and also across the Security Department. That is what is there again for Monica Juma, the CS, the CS. And here, the story of Jimmy Wanjigi, still captured on the People Daily. He said, "I am an honest political broker," says Jimmy Wanjigi. Businessman denies role in Anglo leasing but admits he was the force behind Thika Highway and SGR projects. It's an amazing read there. Perhaps for the first time, people had an in-depth one-on-one interview with Jimmy Wanjigi. All right. So MPs to grill security chiefs over Ruto sentry changes. National Assembly team says bosses will explain whether law was followed ahead of replacement. The committee also asks Interior Principal Secretary Karaja Kibisho and Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutiambai to accompany Matiang'i to the committee meeting. That is as far as the security of the Deputy President is concerned. And it has raised a lot of concern either way. And now the three have been summoned by the National Assembly to shed more light on that particular story. Jen?
I think That is that in regards to what we have here in the paper. We have pretty much covered all the stories that have been given prominence here on the particular dailies.
Okay.
I don't know, Ray, if you have anything more to add.
Actually, it's not on the paper, but it has been trending on social media, and I have a quick question.
Yes.
The issue of cyberbullying. At what point do you feel entitled to make judgment about someone else's personal life? And I want to say it categorically today. I wish people were a little bit honest with people they do not know, people they have not interacted with, and understand that they live their lives. And if you want to make a judgment of that person, or if you have something to say to that person, have the courage to tell it to them on their face. Don't go behind their back, sending their friends, relatives, people they know, messages, screenshots, conversations. That's just low. If you have something to say to someone, say it to them directly. This shadow boxing is nauseating. It's just disgusting if you ask me, because then you have told a third party about person X. Have you helped person X? Actually, you've now brought in person Y into a conversation that was for person X. See what you're doing? You're spreading gossip. You're spreading maliciousness. We just need to just be honest. And I read a quote somewhere, and I'd want to end in the headlines with that, without sounding as if I'm preachy, that people believe, like, you know, because it's social media and they see Regina, Jane, and Victor, they can sit at the table, that they have a say in regards to what happens in Victor's life, or in Jane's life, or Regina's life. It doesn't mean because you see people on social media, you have a right to judge them through your own worldviews. Man, the things that those people who spread malicious slander have done that are far worse. But because they have that edge and the obscurity that online and internet gives them, they can do that to people. We have seen that.
Yeah.
And there's the issue of intellectual property rights. My picture today, or rather my photo today, I know as far as I'm concerned, it is me. That is a picture of me or a photo of me. How you use it as another user is another thing altogether. Right? People need to understand that sometimes we take it a little bit too far. We take it a little bit too far, and we end up hurting people who were never part of that conversation, making assumptions, making malicious slander, talking ill about people you have never met, probably you will never meet in your lifetime, but you feel you have to say something, and not positive, but negative to someone who loves them or is with them or part of their family.
In other words,
so what have you helped?
In other words, people should mind their own business.
They need to mind their own business. Mind
Yeah.
your business. Your business should be your business. Why would I be worried about Victor and Jane and Doreen and everyone else? I have my own life to live. But hey, then I remember a tree that bears fruit is what is usually hit and shaken. But a barren tree will thrive because there's no one attacking it. So if someone is attacking you right now today, in this day and time, just know that you have something
to offer.
they want or crave for.
Yeah.
And the only way they can cast a shadow onto you is throwing shade. So just brace. It's a roller coaster. Brace.
All right.
Drops mic.
Drops mic. Boom. Regina.
Yeah.
All right.
Just had it.
So, Magda Prince.
Nasemaji.
Watching live from Mazera's Rabai Mwele. Watu Mombasa. Evelyn Kavaya, morning on board. Amy Brown, morning too, watching from Embakasi. Fred Manyenyi, saying that he's watching from Masaba area. Masaba should be in Kisii region. Paul K. Yegon, ayeboyo. Good morning, following live at Machakos. Osoro David, Nyamira Sironga. And then there is a gentleman called Kevin Muhovi Masienza Iholomani.
Yeah.
Locked. Kipchirchir Marogo Mentor. This one is advertising something on social media. Do you want blah 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 blah? Kipchirchir wacha bana. Robert Koros tuned in from Upper Hill, that is in Nairobi. Alafu, there's somebody who just responded to, that is called Gaddafi Devi Hill. Says that, good morning, Mimi sijawai kuvisit Hosi, but I'm all right. Kitengela watching. Oh yeah.
Story of vaccine.
I would visit Hosi, why? Is it for the vaccine or just in a normal checkup? Devi?
Specifics.
If it's for the vaccine, go to the hospital and get vaccinated. That one will advocate for you. Okay. And then, yeah, as far as that is concerned, people from Homa Bay County. Yeah, Anguma Temore?
County. Hiya basi.
Okay. So that is that. Jen, somebody saying that Arsenal is number 20. Please, I'm just...
Mimi msiniingize Ray. Over to you. Wacha niangalie hii side muki agi. Muniambie mukimaliza.
But then if you look at where we are number 20. Like, chini kabisa. We are starting the league from
bottom up.
We've played 3 games. 1-0.
I will end your life right at this moment. Charge!
He didn't. I guess that master didn't want you to worry. That's why he told you that there was a cure. I never heard once that it could be cured.
Yuta, believe me, I won't let you die here.
Suluhisho ni mwanamke atoke kwa nyumba. Shachelewa antipili, manake tiketi ankita mizizi.
Na oflet mke wangu umekuwa na hizi homa za ghafla ghafla. Nini ni mbaya, my dear?
Kwa siku zote mume wangu mimi wanakuambia huna jicho la kati. Huoni mbele kabisa.
Hiyo kuroga hiyo. Wacha nikwambie, nimechoka kuishi na wachawi ndani ya nyumba yangu. So leave my house. Ondoka bwana.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Sweetheart, wake up, please, wake
Run him over! Run him over!
I thought Lucretia had him killed. Oh, sorry, no.
I have to get out of here.
I can't let them put me in prison. What happened?
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus...
The excitement of the Olympic Games doesn't just stop there, as the biggest para-sports event, the 2020 Paralympic Games, gets underway from the 24th of August to the 5th of September in Tokyo, Japan. So, get ready to be inspired by these sportsmen and women with outstanding abilities, and look out for Team Kenya too in their quest for glory by watching all the highlights daily on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company here on Good Morning Kenya. In case you are just joining us, karibu tena sana. This is Good Morning Kenya. I am Jin Boy. You can always let us know where you're watching us from this morning. Use the hashtag Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1 is official station handle across the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And remember to also leave your name and location. We will be sure to sample your feedback as we continue on with this particular discussion. Now, we want to get into our first conversation for the day, and this is on our health segment. And today we're going to be talking about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, this is something that most of us don't even know we are experiencing until we get medical diagnosis and understand this is what has been happening. But what is it to start with? That is what we're going to be discussing today. And to help us with this conversation, we have Francis Ndolo with us in studio this morning. He is an associate member of the Kenya Counselors and Psychologists Association. Good morning, Father.
Good morning, Jay.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us today. All right. Now, we want to just get to understand what PTSD is. And let's just start with the basics. And maybe we can even start with understanding when you talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, what do we refer to?
Right. PTSD is mental health disorder, as we have seen. And as the name suggests, post-traumatic is a reaction, a physiological and emotional reaction after somebody is exposed to a traumatizing event. It comes after the person. That's why it is now post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
Then it's a disorder because it disrupts one's life in very many domains. For example, social life, marriage, relationship with friends, occupational, you know, your job, your work, your productivity, all those things do suffer from this. That's why it's a disorder. Then the person is exposed to traumatizing events, and in several ways. The person should be there, exposed, say, for example, like we are talking about Ida, Hurricane Ida, for example, or say a road accident, say, for example, maybe it's a torture or kidnapping or terrorist attack. You are there yourself and you survive. You are exposed to traumatizing event, and then your physiological and emotional reaction will be of that kind. Then also another way you can be exposed is through learning that a relative or a very close friend of yours has gone through such. That is also an exposure of kind.
So it could be direct or indirect?
Yes, direct or indirect.
Okay.
Another way that this can also be done is that one is exposed to very, 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 very detailed accounts of the traumatizing event, or even by being told, for example. Or another way is that the person will be exposed to those things. For example, let's look at example of nurses and doctors and police people, first responders. When they come to a scene, or say they receive a patient, say in an hospital, they see all those gory things, broken limbs, a lot of blood oozing, smashed, all those kind of things. They see all that. The police, they are called to the accident scene, and what do they see? They see all those body parts all over there, blood spilled everywhere, people crying and all that. That's also exposure. Okay, so when that happens, then you see people react, and when that reaction is found there, is there for more than 1 month, then the person can be diagnosed with PTSD. To add here that not everybody who is exposed to these traumatizing events ends up developing PTSD. Majority of people, so about 70%, will have some disturbances like loss of sleep, being keyed up, being very, very lacking concentration and things like that for a while, but that will go away. But for about 20% and 30% of people who go through this, they can't get over this.
They can't easily shake it off as one would expect them to.
Unless they have some help of some kind.
All right. Now, when you talk about PTSD, for most people, we have this barrier of sorts that sort of protects us from understanding that PTSD can happen to anyone. For most people, they still look at PTSD as a white person's disease, as a Western disease, and we Africans cannot experience PTSD in sorts. Do you think this is a very misguided way of looking at such a condition that can affect anyone out there?
PTSD has been elusive, not only to us here in Africa, but to the whole world. Actually, it began to be, it became a category in diagnostic tools in 1980s. Before that, different people had different opinions, but now it became to be coded, especially in DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Psychiatric Association of America. It began to be called now PTSD, and from there, when something is categorized there, it has a name, it has the symptoms, it has its progression, and so on and so forth. And then now it can be treated. So for us now here, because these are categories that were developed out there in the West, they are coming to us as we learn these things, as we train our own counselors, as universities train counselors, and so on and so forth, as we read. And now increasingly, we are beginning to see, because no matter whether we are white or black or whatever continent we come, we are human beings. And so long as we have these many traumatizing events happening, then people will react, because they are human beings. And because they will react, there will be PTSD.
Yes.
Yeah, call it by different names, you don't like it or whatever, but it's there.
And categorized, so it is no longer just a white man's disease.
Yes.
Now, let's get to understand some of those symptoms that could help one understand maybe what I've been going through or feeling or experiencing is actually PTSD. And I like the fact that you've mentioned a few causes here and there, but looking at those symptoms and understanding the root cause of where it all started, let's start with avoidance of things. Is this something that, medically speaking, you can say is actually a symptom of PTSD?
Yes. PTSD has very many symptoms, and to help people understand, kind of conceptualize what it is, they have been clustered. The symptoms have been clustered into 4.
Oh, tell us more.
One is that avoidance symptoms, whereby the person tries to avoid anything that has to do with
a particular
the event. Say, for example, people, places, even talking about the event, what happened. They would be trying to avoid that, okay, to shield themselves, to not to feel that stress and trauma again, all right? The other one is called re-experiencing, a cluster of symptoms, re-experiencing symptoms. This is where the person feels and begins even to act as if the trauma is happening now.
Sort of relieve it?
Yeah, reliving it, living it again. Right. So you find the person is having flashbacks, mental images passing through of, say, the horrific accident that they went through, or the sexual abuse that they went through, or the kidnapping that they went through, and all that. They'll be having flashbacks, they'll be having nightmares, they will be having pains, just like they had pains during the incident. They'll be trembling, they'll be sweating, they'll be, the heart will be beating quick, just like it was when they were facing that. That is a re-experiencing. Then the other symptom is hyper-arousal. That another cluster there, hyper-arousal. The nervous system is very aroused, very high. So you find that the person has issues with concentration because they are just focused on making sure that you are not caught again. This. So you find that the person is not able to concentrate on anything. The person is not able, is having, is keyed up, always very alert. Is having issues with remembering things. Is having issues with when you bang a door or sudden noise, the person begins to re-experiencing that. The heart begins to sweat and all that kind of a thing. And then the other one, the last one, the fourth one, is that there is always change in mood and cognition. The person begins to think differently, the mood changes. So the person begins to have very low mood. The person also begins to have very different view, very personalized, very out of the ordinary view of the world and self.
Okay.
All right? Especially the future. The person is not able to see like you and I see, like, say, my future goes almost like in the way you see a road up to the end or up to the horizon. The person begins to think and feel that their future is not very long, that kind of a thing. So there is that change in cognition of that.
Correct.
Talking about children.
Yes, and I'd like for you to just tell us a bit more about that, because we casually get into conversations and we say, mi staki yo ni childhood trauma. We casually throw this word around and we don't really understand when you talk about childhood trauma, how does it really present itself? And looking at PTSD itself, does it manifest in a different way in children as opposed to adults, or how does it present itself, generally speaking?
Yeah, it presents itself in children just like it in adults.
Okay.
But there will be a slight difference because of their developmental stage, where their brain is. The brain is still growing and very young. So much of that for children will be they will retrogress. They will go back. It's like they will become young. It's like you press the rewind button.
They regress in terms of their developmental milestones?
Yes. Those milestones that they have already achieved, you find then they are gone.
They're regressing.
So, for example, they'll become very clingy. They don't want to be left by their parent. They want to move around wherever they are, or the adults, wherever they are. They also would start bedwetting, which is something they have gone through, but they have overcome and grown over that. They'll begin to do that. The other way is that the children may begin to dramatize trauma in their play. For example, if children they find themselves in a battle or war zone, or where there is conflict, people are killing one another with pangas or arrows, you find that the children begin now to, they get a stick and they pretend it's a gun, or they get a stick and they pretend it's a panga or something like that. Then in play and also in drawing, that's where I think that's where play therapy comes in there. It's able to catch those. When they are drawing, scenes of violence and all that kind of a thing. If you tell a child, for example, who comes from, say, an abusive family, if they draw pictures, you find that they are drawing pictures of, if it's mom or dad down there being, kicked or boxed and all that kind of a thing. I remember doing that for a school that had a terrible road accident. The kids were not there, the young ones were not there, but when I asked them to draw, they began drawing, these bars, plunging in a river, or these bars with a lot of blood.
From what they had heard.
Yeah, from what they have heard and all that. So that's the only difference. For teens, they will act out. Teens will act out. They will have outbursts of anger and very aggressive behavior, very defiant kind of behavior as a reaction to all this.
All right. And how is PTSD diagnosed or detected?
For a trained counselor, you will have you interview the person. You hear their story. You hear what is bothering them. They will tell you this and that and that. And as an experienced counselor, you'll be able to pick these symptoms. Somebody will say, "Oh, I'm not sleeping well. In my nightmares, I'm seeing, somebody with a gun running after me," or whatever it is. Things like that. And then using this class stuff, you'll be able to do that. If you want, you can also use screening tools. There are screening tools. There are questionnaires, like trauma questionnaire that are out there. You can administer to them to people, let the people fill them, or you can score them. You can fill them for them and then score, see where the person lies.
All right.
And you're able to do that.
Now, and just looking at that detection phase, are there stages in which PTSD presents itself such that, at this particular stage, it is not as advanced, at this particular stage requires this form of assistance or treatment, at this particular stage, it manifests in different ways or so? Does it have various stages of manifestation?
I will not talk about stages, but for some people, they will take a very short time to begin exhibiting these symptoms. For others, they will take a little bit of time, but at the end they will be able to do that. And once you are diagnosed to have it, then you have this, and you don't have to have all these symptoms. For example, you need not to say, for example, for re-experiencing, you may need only one symptom. For avoidance, maybe the same. Hyperarousal, maybe two. Of course, for change in cognition and mood, you need two symptoms, and they are there. So once the counselor gets you, say, for example, re-experiencing kind of symptoms, we'll be able to say, okay, you have scored that one, and another one. Then go to the other cluster, score 1, 2, 3, the other one like that, and then the person already qualifies for that.
And how do you draw the line between PTSD and depression? Because they sort of mimic each other in terms of some of the symptoms that they're both presenting. How are you able to even draw the line and understand this is PTSD and this is depression, tuache kuji self-diagnose and prescribing for ourselves the medication, treatment or regimen that we need to be on to get back to a sense of normalcy?
That's true. Just like any other, say in the physiological world, whereby we are sick of this disease and the other. Self-diagnosing is not a very good thing, because you'll be confused by some of these symptoms and you start saying, oh, I have this and that and that. It's good if, for example, you can go to a person who knows what they are doing and be able to tell you what it is. But you are right there, because what has been found, for example, Dr. Frank Jenga, heading this task force on mental health in Kenya, has come to observe that in PTSD in this country co-occurs mainly with depression, sexual abuse, co-occurs with anxiety, and all those kind of things there. So you ask, how can you differentiate? Depression symptoms are very clear, low mood, sadness most of the day and all that kind of a thing. You'll be able to see that, because depression is hopelessness, and the person is, like the word says, depressed. The mood is gone down, all right? Is like acting in slow motion. But somebody with PTSD, like you have seen, hyperarousal. One of the symptoms here is the person is not sleeping. The person is acting in a very reckless way. If it is driving, it's driving very hard and very fast and all that kind of a thing. Actually, before 2013, PTSD used to be under, in DSM, what is called anxiety disorders. And you see that anxiety is hyper. And then depression is down.
The extreme.
Okay, so we are very careful as counselors not to miss depression in PTSD clients.
All right.
So because you know the symptoms of this and the symptoms of the other, you'll be able to delineate all that. But the person can have the two at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah, and even more co-occurring.
All right. Now, remember, we welcome you to be part of this conversation. I can already see some sending through their questions, and as simple or as grand as they may be, we welcome them. If you're seeking clarifications, if you're seeking to get some answers, or you just want to comment in particular this discussion, welcome to do so. I will be sampling your comments and views once we return from this very quick breather, so do stay with us. We'll be right back.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#.
Did you know that you have complete control over everything that surrounds you? Yes, fully control over all that comes out of the seas, the earth, and the universe. That control is your thinking. Good thoughts bear good fruits, but bad thoughts will always bear bad fruits. Control your thinking.
To get control your thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#. *811*961#.
The excitement of the Olympic Games doesn't just stop there, as the biggest para-sports event, the 2020 Paralympic Games, gets underway from the 24th of August to the 5th of September in Tokyo, Japan. So, get ready to be inspired by these sportsmen and women with outstanding abilities, and look out for Team Kenya too in their quest for glory by watching all the highlights daily on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. We want to just move right along with where we were just before that commercial break, and just looking at PTSD. It is the subject of conversation today, and with us in studio we have Father Francis Ndolo, who is an associate member of the Kenya Counselors and Psychologists Association, helping us with this conversation. Now, before we get to continue, just allow me to take you back to that part of the symptoms. I will reserve names for purposes of privacy, but there's someone who has talked about they can never eat githeri because when they just see it, they get anxiety over how much they used to eat it when they were younger. And I also gave you the other example just when we were off air, just speaking with our guest here. There's some people who avoid certain things because of at some point in life they had to experience or to endure or to even eat them for an extensive amount of time, and right now when they are better positioned in life, they avoid these things at whatever cost. What do you make of such?
Interesting. But what we are talking about here, PTSD, is a very serious matter. Very serious matter. So for you to maybe avoid eating this particular food because when you are young you're this and that, it's not a sign of PTSD unless we are able to talk about that anxiety plus many others. You see, for a diagnosis to happen, you need to qualify, to have all the symptoms that are necessary, like that. Like we said, for example, for re-experiencing, you need one or more symptom. Okay, for example, for avoidance, you need one or more. For hyperarousal, you need two or more symptoms. Then for cognition and mood change, you also need 2 symptoms. You need to have all those. Not that. And the other thing about a disorder, I've got to talk about a disorder here, it has to disrupt in a very serious way your life, your social life and occupational life. So the question to them is, when you avoid this, does it disrupt, or if you go on this buying spree and all that, does it, and then do you qualify for that? Because the other disorders that can explain, maybe if somebody is holding shoes or buying,
overcompensating, as you say.
Overcompensating on things that they missed when they were young.
Okay.
There will be things like that, like attachment disorders and all those kind of things that deal with childhood experiences and deprivations.
Okay, and maybe
but PTSD, no, very serious.
Very serious. And maybe to just even help our viewers understand the seriousness of this particular disorder, what are some of those short-term and long-term effects that you have seen people actually experience as a result of PTSD?
You find that somebody is not able to function as a family man or woman because of these symptoms. For example, as we said, the person can have outbursts, hyperarousal, outbursts of anger. And so the person can be triggered very easily to act. The person has very reckless behavior, like drinking a lot and fighting, picking quarrels. So you find that people who are PTSD, they have a very big challenge in maintaining a relationship, a family relationship or close relationship. Even work, for example, they are not able to sleep. They are triggered very easily by this and the other. So you find them at a workplace, then they are not able to be with the other people there. And if there is that depressive component, like we said before, the person is not able to cope with what is going on there, and there will be a very lonely person there. Our productivity will go down, and all those kind of things. Those kind of things, because some of the people will try to cope with this through drinking a lot. And because of that, then they went into all sorts of problems that come with drinking. How does drinking, over drinking, affect the family? How does it affect a job? How does it affect your health? And planning and all that kind of thing about your life, So then if you are very hungry, very violent, and there's a very changed view of life that is like, I'm not going to live for long and all that kind of a thing. There's despair there, and then the person cannot plan ahead, because they are not functioning from the same script like everybody else. So it's a serious disruption to people's life, and it needs a lot of attention.
Okay. And what are the treatment options that are available for PTSD? And this is for those who are seeking the medical intervention or the psychological intervention professionally, not self-diagnosing.
Yes. There are several. There are very many. There are very many, first of all, therapies, psychological therapies. There are many. But some of them are distinguished themselves to be the modalities of choice for many counselors. One of the oldest modality is CBT. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, developed in 1950s by somebody called Herbert Ellis. And it tries to capture the negative self-talk that the person is having. Because that CBT, the theory is people are disturbed not so much by what happens, but by what they think about what has happened. So it tries to capture that and change that thinking pattern, and then look at the learned behaviors and try to change them. That's you see, it's CBT, cognition, change behavior. Then there's another one called prolonged exposure therapy that is focused to trauma. And it has a lot of behavioral components, because it exposes people to the feared, like for example avoidance. They will try to, helped by a counselor, you'll be taken to the scene where maybe the accident happened. Then because you have your counselor, the counselor will be able to see how much you can bear on that, and as other strategies to calm you down and all that. Maybe it's a feared object, maybe it's a feared person or feared activity, and then they would desensitize you over time. systematic desensitization, and many other behavioral kind of strategies like homework assignments and things like that. Then I've been trained in CBT myself, and I use it a lot. But there's a new one. There's a new kid in the block, and I like it and like to commend it for the counselors. EMDR.
EMDR, what does that stand for?
Stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. EMDR, Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. Developed in 1980s by a lady called Francine Shapiro in California. And in this one, the understanding, you see different treatment modalities like CBT or prolonged exposure or psychoanalysis or EMDR. Each one has an assumption as to what makes people tick. Then what makes people not to tick. That assumption is what, informs what they do with the client. EMDR assumes that what makes people with PTSD not to tick is that their neurology, that is the stress enters their neurology, the central nervous system, and unless it is removed from there, it continues to disturb them. Whenever whatever experience we have, for example, we are frightened by a snake, or we are pulled out of a fire, or of a collapsing building, something
or
water, like that, or water flood, we all that gets into our nervous system. Normally, the brain will just digest that, and within a few days, we are okay. But if it is overwhelming as a traumatizing event, that will get kind of stuck in the nervous system. Like when you eat something that you have not eaten for a long time, or you eat much, say, of cassava, your tummy may not be able to handle that. You may need help. Your tummy may need help to be able to digest that. The same, trauma is too much for the system to digest this, so they need help. So EMDR gives you help by eye movement. See, eye movement desensitization. Eye movement. This eye, moving in alternately like that. Using lights which are moving, or two fingers that are passing in the front view, or tapping, or sound here, then they start alternate. You are connecting the left and right hemisphere of your brain in order to be able to digest this. It's very easy, and like other therapies, you don't have to talk a lot about, say, for example, when you're talking about sexual abuse. Sometimes it's very difficult to talk about that and other personal experiences. But with EMDR, you don't have to say a lot. You need just to have the picture, say, of the perpetrator, or the phone call that told you, somebody died or something like that. Whatever it's the highest point of that emotion. Get that?
That's what you pick. You
pick that. You pick the feeling, the negative cognition that goes with that, and then where it is in your body, and then you follow. You
reprocess it.
And
I like that.
And we have that now. They are training people here in EMDR Kenya. Google EMDR Kenya, and you see therapists that are trained. Also, a counselor who wants to be trained, EMDR Kenya, Google that, and you see you can get into contact and you can be trained 2 weekends.
All right.
And you are good.
Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, does PTSD ever go away?
For the 30%, it cannot go unless the person is helped. There's a person who has done a lot about all this, Dr. Lukoya Atwoli of Moi University has done a lot of research on this. I think it's around 2006. He did a research on Mau Mau survivors. And when was Mau Mau? Towards independence, 50s and close to 60s. He did a research on them to see how much trauma was still with them, and found that many of them still experienced trauma 60 or more years after. So that tells you this thing can go for life for many people unless it is treated. So what I'll say is that there is help out there. There's a lot of help out there, and people need to to stop diagnosing, self-diagnosing themselves, or trivializing thinking that is a very easy matter. It's a very serious matter that disrupts people's lives. We live with people whose life is out of work, and we don't know why. We start saying, oh, so-and-so's been bewitched. Anataka maombi, anataka sijui nini, anataka nini. Sometimes it is things like this.
And so somebody late bloomers.
Yeah. So they need this in order to be able to come around. Like our first responders, I would say that, our nurses, our police. You know, there's a lot of talk about police brutality and, you know, shooting themselves and suicide and all that. There's a lot that needs to be talked about this.
All right. Post-traumatic stress disorder, it's not something that we can just say we know much about and we can work through it by ourselves. It needs psychological intervention from a professional to help you navigate these waters, whether it is mild or severe. You can always get the assistance that you need to just make sure it doesn't disrupt the order of your life or the normalcy of what you consider to be your life to be. We have been speaking with Father Francis Ndolo. He is an associate member of the Kenya Counselors and Psychologists Association. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today to help us understand what PTSD is all about.
Thank you for having me, Jane.
Karibu sana. Now, we want to take a very, very quick breath. We have so much more lined up for you. Remember that conversation about saving here in Kenya? That is coming up in a bit, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Amevaa hijabu huheshimiwa na huepuka vitimbi ambavyo wanafanyiwa wanawake wasiokuwa na stara.
Pia hakuna awezaye kumkabili kwa maneno ambayo kwamba ni machafu labda au maudhi, kwani anafahamu wazi kwamba mwanamke huyo ameshikamana na dini yake na vile vile anaheshimu utu wake.
Oh Muhammad, peace and blessings on you every day. Alayka sallallahu, oh Muhammad.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Sweetheart, wake up, please, wake up.
Run him over! Run him over!
I thought the Gresha had him killed. Oh, sorry, no.
I have to get out of here. I can't let them put me in prison. What happened?
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus...
Suluhisho ni mwanamke atoke kwa nyumba. Shachelewa antipili, manake tiketi ankita mizizi.
Na uflet, mke wangu umekuwa na hizi homa za ghafla ghafla. Nini ni mbaya, my dear?
Kwa siku zote mume wangu mimi wanakuambia huna jicho la kati. Huoni mbele kabisa.
Hiyo kuroga hiyo. Wacha nikwambie, nimechoka kuishi na wachawi ndani ya nyumba yangu. So leave my house. Ondoka bwana.
I will end your life right at this moment. Charge!
He didn't. I guess that master didn't want you to worry. That's why he told you that there was a cure. I never heard once that it could be cured.
Yuta, believe me, I won't let you die here.
月圆风般吹散沉香，香满旗檐上。抓一味当归入药汤，相思泪水。
Good morning. If you're tuning in, this is Good Morning Kenya, and we're talking about matters entrepreneurship, matters money, because money makes the world go round. But that money that you make, how much of it do you save? If at all you save. Kenya has already been ranked as among the least, the country with the least saving culture. This morning we wanted to address that, and taking us through this conversation is none other than the Managing Director at Post Bank, Mr. Raphael Lekolo. Karibu sana.
Asante sana,
Thank
Regina.
you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making time. Now, when you talk about savings culture, let's start off with the issue of saving. Maybe you can paint us a picture. A report was made public by the Central Bank of Kenya that indicated that between the financial year 2020-2021, that is when we had COVID last year, the rich deposited more. Now that anomaly, when people are thinking we're going to get into a recession and a pandemic, issues of saving, how do we stand as it is?
Thank you, Regina, for that question. It's actually puzzling when you look at it, when people are expected to be spending more, and then suddenly you find the levels of money in the banking industry going up. And it's something we also experienced in Post Bank. We expected to see a shift of people withdrawing, but it didn't happen. Normally what happens during such times is people wait out to see during these times of uncertainty. They wait out to see what will happen next. So the risk adjustment they do is, let's keep the money that we have. Let's wait for these opportunities that will come up, and then we come out and invest again. We saw that in the industry coming out very clearly, and we also saw in our level, at a retail level in Post Bank, where there was no real expenditure, especially like schools were closed, so there was no fees to be paid. So people were just taking care of the little they have in anticipation of whatever eventuality that they'll come, that they'll need this money to work on it. And that's what happens also in the banking industry. People hold out to see what will happen, scale down the activities, scale down on what they spend on, just to sit out any bad eventuality that may come through.
Literally saving for a rainy day, or rather speculating for a better investment opportunity after the cloud shifts. When you talk about savings and Kenyans, why do you think Kenyans have a poor savings culture?
It's lack of education, lack of financial literacy. We at Post Bank, what we try to do is educate people from even the school level to see how they can embrace this savings culture. To build that savings culture is not easy. At times it can be forced on people. You see governments at times put restrictions on how much people can remove out of what they earn. So to build that culture is not very easy. And financial literacy is quite key. People need to understand that there is a tomorrow. This idea of this YOLO mentality, you only live once, where people
YOLO.
now.
Life is for the living.
Yes.
At the moment, if I have it, I have it. If I don't have it, I don't have it.
Yes.
Now, talking about, just changing our mindset, because I tend to think it's how we enculturated. There is this notion that for you to save, you have to be making a 6-figure salary or earnings. Is this so? How do we let's unpack that.
Thank you, Regina. It's a very interesting question. Usually, and it's a conversation you used to have even when you were young. When I reach this level of earnings is when I start saving. You reach that level, you still consume, and then you say, and I get another promotion, I'll do something. And you find people doing other things, and this money usually runs away from you for some strange reason. So if you learn at that level where if you're earning 100 shillings and you decide 15 to 25% of what I earn, I will save, and you make it a culture, then you'll be able to ride through. So at that level, whether you're a mama boga, a boda guy, and you're earning this 100, 200 shillings, if you save 20 shillings per day, you'll be taking a very big step forward, so that when you start earning that 1,000, you'll be graduating to 200. Don't change your lifestyle.
So what are you saying? What you're recommending is that we save at least 20% of our gross, or is it net earnings? Because I may have earned 100,000 and have spent 80,000 in my expenses, miscellaneous and such, and what is remaining is 20,000. So do I save 20% of what is remaining? That is my 20,000 after expenses, or are you recommending that I save 20% of my gross earnings, and now we're working with 100,000?
There's also the aspect of KRA, which will come in the tax.
No, I'm saying, what I'm saying, the take home. I'm going with 100,000 take home after we have paid Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Yes.
You've given your tithe.
Yes, we've given our tithe. We're saying, this is now what I want to do for my rent, for the school, for such. Now I have 100,000.
Then do 20,000. Push yourself, do that 20,000. It's not easy, because there are demands coming from everywhere. There are demands coming from home. There are demands of, if you have children, they want to go out to eat pizza. So you need to actually balance yourself in that respect, so that you are able to build up. You don't have to start at the 20. You can start at the 5, build it up to 10. By the time you reach 20, then you'll be at the optimum level. So the thing is, as you take this 100,000, make sure before it even hits your bank, you've taken it elsewhere. And there are products to help you do that.
Now let's talk about the products, because I am already hearing what Kenyans are asking. In this economy, can I afford to save? That is a question. In this economy, we are not saving. Can we afford to save, sir?
It's very interesting. I think throughout life, good times, bad times, learn to save. During good times, you save more. During bad times, definitely circumstances will force you to save less. But it has to be a continuous process. That savings has to continue. I know right now, with all the challenges that are there and demands for this money are great. But if you just discipline yourself, you'll be able to do that savings.
Discipline.
Yes.
We will come back to discipline. Now let's talk about the products that are available out there, because when you talk about savings, before the era of the banking system, we used to do mattress banking right under the pillow or under the seat somewhere, but now we are taking our monies to the bank. This brings a question: is the money savings that I'm saving earning me enough while at the bank? Is it?
Yes, it is.
Is it worth it?
It is. It's worth it. I can tell you for free. Postbank is a bank that's been there for over 100 years. So you can imagine for our grandparents, if they were saving during those times, you can imagine, and somebody is 100 and they've continued saving until today. I'll just leave that to your imagination, how much they would have saved. So products have come up to enable you to save. What we try to do is we try to adjust. The people, because of the discipline they may not have, decide that once they get paid, they just put a standing order in their account, so that the minute the money checks in, it's taken, the 20% goes to savings, and they continue with, and they readjust their life with the 80. What has happened is the products that are there and the technology that has come up, it's enabled people now to ease the ability to save. You don't have to go to the bank. There's technology now. You have wallets in your phone. The thing is, if you don't have that discipline, then put money in a place where you cannot easily access, or you are penalized for it. So that when I say, if you withdraw this money, then you lose all the interest, then you start thinking twice. Then it helps you along that journey in terms of savings, because there are penalties that will be associated with you withdrawing that money. So there are various products that are there, and banking institutions have come up with various ways. So you can have debits to your account, you can have a payroll check off, or if you're in a market, you designate one person to be banking for you.
Banking.
Yes.
Now that you've talked about something very key, interest. The interest that my monies that I've saved in a savings account, the interest that it earns me, it's more or less kidogo sana. That's the truth of the matter. And that's one of the reasons that Kenyans are like, you know what, I'd rather have my money in circulation than have it sitting. Let it work for me, then, you know, the dynamics there. And how is that then affecting people like me, people who are reasoning, you know what, I need to have my money to make for me money? I mean, how are you dealing with people, consumers such as me?
Yeah, it's a common predicament we see. The thinking is, if I put this money there, it will earn me more. I'd rather buy this plot, it will appreciate. There's some capital appreciation. I'd rather buy something that I know will generate me that income. I'll do a side hustle and invest this money there. But the truth of the matter is, money is king. When you have it at whatever point in time, then you'll be in a safe space. So what we try to do is to tell people, continuously save. I know when you put money in the bank, you'll be earning 2 to 4%. Inflation will be at around 7%, 6 to 7%, and the government is busy trying to bring it down. So when you look at those inflationary levels, it means that if you put 100 bob, it will not be 100 bob in the next 5 years. It has to have done something. And when you look at the savings and the savings products we have, we try really to match so that this 100 bob still remains equivalent in 5 years when you come for it. So we try and put interest that is reasonable. So if you look at the banks, and us included at Postbank, the more money you have and the longer you give it to us to invest for you, the higher your interest will be. So if you save over a long time and you've built up enough, then you can come and start negotiating higher interest rates for the money. But what happens is, if you continuously want to hustle and spend the money, then you'll not have something at the end of the day. So you need to make that conscious decision. 20% has to go for savings.
Well,
this other one has to.
Well,
it's not easy. That's why we come in the education bit.
You've talked about investments. Curious one here. We're always told it's safer to do business with government, and we have seen the rollout of T-bills and such. Someone who has a savings account with Postbank at this point, is there an opportunity or an investment wheel, so to speak, that would allow them to invest in government T-bills and such?
We are exploring that now. We have customers who through the banking industry, they go and bid for these T-bills and bonds, and then we facilitate and do the transfers for them. We've seen good customers who are corporate, who have a lot of money, do that, because what they like about Postbank is, and is one of the incentives the government has given, the interest you earn in Postbank is tax-free. Unlike other banks you're charged withholding tax on the interest that you earn. For Postbank, it's not there. So people who are in the know, and that's why this education is quite key and needs to go out. In Postbank, when you save, your interest, if we tell you is 4%, it's 4%. We no longer, we do not charge the extra 15 withholding tax. Yes. So you'll find that you retain much more when you're saving in Postbank. And we've seen people who've learned that, do that, so that they target, when they build to a certain amount, then they go now for treasury bills or treasury bonds. So because those ones come at levels of maybe 50 to 100,000. So you'll find people saving, and then when it reaches that level, then they move over to the next level.
That is one advantage of actually having a savings account at Postbank. But now the question is, I have not seen agents of Postbank. And we know all these agents when it comes to fintech and mobile money entities. I have not seen that. And if there's one, you need to tell me where it is, right? So the issue and the age, we're in the age of fintech, and this is technology that has changed the banking industry, so to speak. So plans, or rather integration of tech into banking in as far as Postbank is concerned, your take?
We are quite progressed. We have very huge strides to take. We need to be there. And when you look at some of the infrastructure we have over 97 branches. So in terms of presence out there, we are there. We have over 600 agents. So we are there on the ground. I think my take is now I'll have a chat with my team.
We need to know that there's a Postbank agent. Then also talking about technology, how easy is it for me today, someone who is watching back at home, who wants to do the savings with Postbank? Is there an app? Because we are digital right now. Is there an app that would allow me to save with this bank?
Yes, we have an app, and then we have the USSD code. You do the...
We will get it as we proceed. We will get it as we proceed. Don't worry.
I'll get you the code. You just do the pay bill and then put your account number, and you can do it every day. And if you even go to an agent, you want to pay 100 shillings, we don't even charge. And that's why we are trying to bring people who are earning that level of income at 100 shillings, be able to save at an agent without even paying any transaction fees. So those are the incentives we've put out there. Yes.
Now, when you talk about savings, women are known to have merry-go-rounds and chamas. And is this a niche that you have tapped into, like group savings? Is this a niche that you are exploring?
Yes, we've had very interesting discussions around that, and we've gotten a lot of assistance, and we are part of a group of World Savings Bank organization, and they have given us grants to be able to push these Chama products, and we've had very good response in that regard. And right now we are sitting with over 6,000 accounts, basically accounts of Chamas, because we find Kenyans like coming together. The cooperative movement, Harambee spirit.
Yes.
I think coming together, and then you sort of share the risk. You're saying, okay, to end a Postbank, we're all sharing the risk, so that if I lose, I'm not the only one losing. If I gain, we're all gaining.
The security in numbers.
Yes.
We take it a notch higher.
Yes.
Now, in your banking experience at this point, how would you compare us, or rather this last 5 years, in comparison to the last 5 years before? Like, what have we done? What are the emerging issues that you have encountered in the banking sector that they're going to leapfrog this sector as we go? I know we have the issue of fintech, but other than that, in our culture, and I'm coming from a point of, it is the older generation that was banking. It was the older generation that was banking. But I'm sure this has changed, or has it not?
It has changed. What has happened is, because of the ease of doing business using technology, and we can't run away from that, you'll find even banks which were shying away in the last 10 years, banks which were shying away from using technology, mobile banking, they've all embraced it. And some of them are way ahead of even the ones who had started before. So it's been forced on us. For those who are looking forward, they were embracing it and they're already running with it. When you look at Postbank, we are way ahead of our time. We are the ones who rolled out like agency banking. But right now, we are finding like because of the corona pandemic, handling of cash is no longer, it has become a big issue. So we want to remove the cash from the economy, but use other methods like technology, and that's where M-Pesa comes in handy. So people don't have to come to a banking hall, go to an agent to withdraw cash. They can do the transfers on the phone. So there's been a big shift, both at the bank end and due to demand from the customer also. The ease of banking, technology, internet banking, it's all come to the fore. And right now people are talking about WhatsApp. And it's conversation you have which are very interesting with these the fintech guys, because they're actually pushing the boundaries. Suddenly you find there's no clear demarcation of what is a fintech and what is a bank. We are all there in that space. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, from where I sit, I grew up knowing post bank, and I related it to mailing, letter mailing, poster, tunaenda poster, post bank. From where you sit at the helm of this, what have you done to actually, open up this reasoning that we're not just doing envelopes and letters and such, but they're also this, because I tend to think it has also played a key role in where the society stands as far as post bank is concerned.
Okay. It's quite interesting that you asked that question, and I can talk a bit the developed world so that I can come back to a Kenyan scenario.
Yeah.
You look at the developed world, the post bank, if you look at Germany, Japan, South Africa, post banks have grown and become very, very big banks. And the government really uses them for social payments, like what we have now in Wajami payments, any payments that's targeting retail sector that's coming from government. They've tried to channel all that through post bank. What this means is you have a poster. If you go home now to a village and you ask, poster iko wapi? You'll be shown.
Oh yes.
You'll be shown.
They always
They know where it is.
Yes.
There's a poster here, there's a poster here. So the thing is, how do we leverage on that as post bank?
Yes.
Have agents in those locations, put a POS for people to be able to transact. And that's what we're doing as post bank, trying to reach that machinery in a place where everyone knows. So apart from just going to do your letters and everything in the post office, you can still have that financial access. And that's what we're riding on now. We are talking to partners in the banking industry. They don't need to open a branch everywhere. If you are there and you have an agent or you have a branch, then they can use our infrastructure. This idea of holding what you have restricts you to very small population. But for us, because now we are accessible and we are open to this bigger population where you have that agency wherever we can, then you can utilize that agency, because if you have a POS, if it's not working, it's not earning us money. If your customer is near there and they're not able to bank, they have to go 20-30 kilometers to bank, and you have this infrastructure here. Yeah, you need to save that person that time, because they have better things to do than walk 20 kilometers to go do the banking.
Indeed.
And that's the infrastructure that these post offices are going to give us to roll out our
Do you have timelines for this?
Yes. We've started. We are reaching out. We've agreed with Posta that we'll roll out around 70 or so gadgets with them. We are configuring the gadgets, and in the next 2 to 3 months, they should be out there in the field. Yes.
The next 2 to 3 months.
Yes.
Now let's talk about risk, and we're talking about cyber security threats. Serianu presented a report, I think, sometime last week that indicated that SACCOs, or rather the bank, especially SACCOs, are at greater risk of cyber threats. From where you sit, what have you done to ensure, rather mitigate on a would-be case scenario? How safe are my savings with Postbank?
I can tell you 100% your savings are safe with Postbank. Apart from what the government talks about in terms of the way the Act has been set up to protect depositors with Postbank, the other key thing we do internally, we have very good infrastructure, very good security apparatus to sniff out any attacks on us. I know cybersecurity is quite critical. Access to our systems, I'm sure, because we have all these gadgets all out there, people are looking at seeing, okay, how can I try and hack into Postbank? But what we've done is we've put in safety measures around it. We are top of the class, and we're always rolling out new things to ensure that there's protection on cyber. And we work this with our partners, and when you look at the available resources that the government has, we heavily rely also on that, on the new trends that are coming up on cyber, so that we continuously upgrade our security around our systems.
From where you sit, sir, do you think government has done enough, or rather authorities have done enough to safeguard the client, or rather depositors, when it comes to crimes such as fraud and impersonation? Because a majority, we are seeing that is one of the trends that is happening within the banking sector. Do you think we have done enough to ensure that depositors are safe?
Yeah. My experience is these fraudsters are constantly changing their modes of operation, and they're constantly ahead. They're constantly ahead. As soon as they make one step, you catch up, they've taken another step. So we are continuously lagging behind. But what we do is, as a risk management, we try and anticipate what can happen. But the problem now is, because of the frauds and the internal element, you have terrorists inside the organization. Most banks, most of the frauds that happen, you'll find a linking to somebody internally. So one of the key things we try to is look at this person you're employing, do a thorough check, background check. If they're going to be exposed in this area and they'll have access to maybe the system, how good are they, where are they coming from, and can we trust them? I think that one, you can't do enough. So we try and start from that level. This person we are putting in charge of this area, can we trust them? So we do a lot of background checks so that you build from there, because a lot of the frauds that happen have a hand internally. Internal hand
at that. So just as a one-off, and I want to pick on your banking and savings expertise here. We've talked about chamas, the spirit of Harambe, consolidation of funds. The little you have, the little I have, we bring it together, we do an investment. As a savings and investment channel or wheel, is this something you'd recommend as we wind down this conversation?
Yes, although I find the generation that we are in, because of the technology that they use, they find they've become a little bit more individualistic. Yeah, they don't like doing things together. So you'll find, and that's why you find something like Fuliza. I was looking at it today. It's borrowing 1.2 billion daily, because this is an individual borrowing. But they're doing it without the safety net of saying, I'm borrowing to do something. But when you're in a chama, you discuss. Let's say you're in the market and you're in a chama and you're saving together as a group. You go through the risks that are facing you in that locality. So if it's a market, let's say City Market, which is just next to Postbank, if you have a group there and you're all selling flowers or you're selling bogas, you can sit and say, okay, we are going to face challenges, or we know how our cycle is. Flowers, maybe this period is expensive. There's a lot of demand maybe in December, so all this demand during weekends because of funerals and weddings. So you can pace yourself. When you're in a chama, you discuss such things, and then you can also now decide, this is how I'll project and do my savings, because my cycle is like this. Every Friday I need to have this big pot of flowers, so I can be saving Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I remove it, buy the flowers, and then now start savings again on Monday. So when you're in a chama and you have those kind of discussions, you get to understand your market, you get to understand yourself, and also have those personal relationships, which will push you now to those new higher levels, because you'll be seeing somebody succeeding, and you'll be asking them, what have you done? Somebody will tell you, oh, me, I keep saving 50%. Each time I do this, I save maybe 50%. While you say, nikipatanga, I pitia the river road up, I take 1 or 2 before going home. And then you realize, this is where I'm failing. Yeah, so you have that peer pressure and peer social pressure to make you be better when you have those chamas. So I really encourage that.
Yeah, sharing of information with people of the like mind and the like goal. So parting shots, sir, that you'd want to address to Wanjiku. We already know we do not save as much as we should. What is the take from your expertise and where you sit right now?
My take is, demands for the money will always be there. Demand for money will always be there. There's always this phone call which will come, oh, we need this, oh, this is happening. But you need now to have a good kichungi or a nice sieve to say, this is important, this is critical. And as a matter of fact, just develop that discipline. If you're earning money daily, develop that discipline of saving daily. If you're earning monthly, develop that discipline of savings monthly. If it's quarterly, quarterly. And if you're in an erratic business, there's some people I know who will wait, maybe if it's farming, you will wait for 6 months or so. When you sell your produce is when you save. So you have a higher responsibility of having to save during that time when you're harvesting. Otherwise, if you take your harvest, and we normally see during bonus time what happens.
Ya kahawa na
the kahawa, yes, we normally see what happens.
Yeah.
That's the time now to go to the ground and tell people, guys, this is not the time now to spend. Relax. Relax, save now, because you don't know what tomorrow will be. Tomorrow may be a year of drought. You don't know what will happen. So you need to constantly keep saving so that you anticipate for what might happen in the future, so that you're back in business again in the future. And that's what savings helps you. It sets money aside for you, it sets capital aside for you, so that when that drought comes, or when there's a downside, or when a pandemic comes, you have money. That's why you find people now who had money in the banks have just retained them there first to watch out, so that when the opportunities come up, you'll start seeing again a lot of flow.
In the market. Or rather in investment. Well, we have been talking about matters savings at a point when Kenya has been regarded as a country that has a very low saving culture. Take home this morning is that money demands will always be there, but from our guest this morning, who is the managing director at Post Bank, Mr. Raphael Lekolol, saying that at least 20% after you have given Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and you have your monies there, 20% needs to go into saving. And don't wait up until such a time you're earning a 6-figure salary, or bringing in, or rather your business earns you that much. The little, even if it's 100 shillings, save 20, spend, and plan to spend 80%. I'm Regina Manyara, you're watching KBC Channel 1, and this is Good Morning Kenya.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural segment of Tech One. But the intro aside, we move swiftly to looking at one of the advancements in technology of earphones. Those items that you plug into your ears when you want to listen to your favorite tunes and podcasts. What exactly is the evolution of earphones, and what are the current trends in what makes them a technological advancement? According to Counterpoint Research's latest global hearables market report, unit sales grew by 44% year-on-year during the first quarter of 2021. China showed the highest growth year-on-year, while North America continued to occupy the largest share. The numbers clearly showing the popularity of hearable devices, and in this case, earbuds, which have evolved from earphones as the devices became more powerful. Currently, in the Kenyan market, there are several brands of earbuds. I caught up with LG Electronics Eastern Africa Content Manager William Kamore to explore and understand what has been influencing the innovations in the earbuds business line.
Before we launch a product, we like to hear the customers' viewpoints from especially existing products. Like, for example, for most cases, when we found from the research, when people are in the market looking for earbuds or earphones, so one is like a sound clarity or sound quality, and then also features that can enable you to comfortably fit. Are they comfortable enough?
He says customers consider the features, aesthetic appeal, and price of the earbuds when buying. But we wonder how exactly one is supposed to pick from the very many brands in the market. William says the difference may be in the unique advancements.
For Bluetooth now, that means it gives it what we call future-proof. It means that you can be able to pair it or with many other devices, even some that are not developed, or even current devices and current operating systems, because you see others say that this one is not compatible with this, but for LG it's Android or iOS, it could be compatible.
But that's not all. I was very surprised to discover that the tone-free earbuds are equipped with an industry-first UV nano case that eliminates bacteria and germs on the earbuds during charging.
If I'm to remove them, so you see that light, the blue part. Now that is the UV nano. Oh, this part here.
Oh, that's the
yes,
UV.
That's the UV nano. So anytime, yes, exactly. So anytime you use them and you return them back, so for 10 minutes the UV nano will be active, cleaning the mesh itself, because actually inside here, these are the buds. Yes, the mesh inside. Yes, okay. The mesh is the one that's being cleaned.
But the customer continues to be sophisticated and is demanding more.
The ones that we are looking into, the new ones coming, they will be able to be branded here. Okay. So you can have various colors, you can even have a message to someone or something.
Earbuds in the market are retailing at between 2,000 and 30,000 shillings. But what informs this price tag?
The technology behind the self-cleaning part is LG deployed what we call UV nano, or having ultraviolet rays that break down any harmful bacteria or any harmful object that can infect your ear.
It is clear that the hearables business line has grown significantly, but here are some tips to consider when buying an earbud. Consider what you're planning on using your new wireless earbuds for. If commuting, you need noise cancellation earbuds. Thinking about bringing your new earbuds with you to the gym? Then keep an eye out for the IPX4 or better water and sweat protection. And if you just want an inexpensive pair of earbuds that works, well, there are earbuds in the market for you too. I can still hear individual tones. Well, you can say that's an earful. But that's it from me, Alan Auko, for Tech One.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Sweetheart, wake up, please, wake up.
Run him over! Run him over!
I thought Lucretia had him killed. Oh, sorry, no.
I have to get out of here. I can't let them put me in prison. What happened?
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente, respetando tus...
Suluhisho ni mwanamke atoke kwa nyumba. Shachelewa antipili, manake tiketi ankita mizizi.
Na uflet, mke wangu umekuwa na hizi homa za ghafla ghafla. Nini ni mbaya, my dear?
Kwa siku zote mume wangu mimi wanakuambia huna jicho la kati. Huoni mbele kabisa.
Hiyo kuroga hiyo. Wacha nikwambie, nimechoka kuishi na wachawi ndani ya nyumba yangu. So leave my house. Ondoka bwana.
I will end your life right at this moment. Charge!
He didn't. I guess that master didn't want you to worry. That's why he told you that there was a cure. I never heard once that it could be cured.
Yuta, believe me, I won't let you die here.
من رزقي لاش والخالق يرزقني الله 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 ما في قلبي.
Ambaye amevaa hijabu huheshimiwa na huepuka vitimbi ambavyo wanafanyiwa wanawake wasiokuwa na stara.
Pia hakuna awezaye kumkabili kwa maneno ambayo kwamba ni machafu labda au maudhi, kwani anafahamu wazi kwamba mwanamke huyo ameshikamana na dini yake na vile vile anaheshimu utu wake.
Always follow your way, your way, your way. Oh, alayka sallallahu, oh Muhammad, peace and blessings on you every day. Alayka sallallahu, oh Muhammad.
Almost 40 years on since the onset of HIV/AIDS pandemic in the country, stigma and discrimination remain the biggest impediment to treatment efforts, even as the National AIDS Control Council and Kenya National AIDS and STI Control Program jointly strive to contain the deadly virus. 22-year-old Mary Maureen Atieno from Komenya Kuala in Siaya County knows too well the impact of stigma and discrimination on a HIV patient.
The clinician told me he was HIV positive. Actually, I fainted. And after some minutes niliamka, then I really cried that day. Ilifika point tulikuwa tu mabeshte na dawa. Yeah, that's when I saw this is not a big deal. Yeah. So at that point I used to tell my classmates, yeah, there is this girl, I can't remember, her name is Olivia. I told her, by the way, they used to see me going in the morning, taking my medication, the evening I'm going for the medication. So nikamwambia, I'm always HIV positive. Zile dawa na mezanga, I'm always HIV positive. Alishanga, then she started spreading it.
Currently, Maureen works as an adolescent peer educator at the Siaya County Referral Hospital.
Sasa tukikuja clinic nini itafanyika? Tutaona daktari, si ndio? Then tutapewa dawa, si ndio? I need a stigma-free environment. The that's to my adolescents, because once there is no stigma, somebody can easily accept themselves. Yeah. When somebody tells you it's fine, you're going to be fine. Yeah. Hapo hakuna stigma.
Just like Maureen, 38-year-old Michael Odhiambo joins the counseling mission, where he encourages individuals living with various illnesses, including HIV, to stay strong, adhere to medication, and embrace voluntary medical male circumcision.
When they ask me, I try to introduce circumcision, HIV prevention, through maybe this circumcision of Shangring, to reduce it by 60%. It's not fully preventive, but at least it helps to reduce the chances, and then also to prevent this cervical cancer for your wives or for the women, and also for the men, this urinary tract diseases ndio tunajaribu.
In Rarieda, still in Siaya County, individuals living with HIV have had to reinvent themselves in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Instead of frequenting and flocking Madiani District Hospital for their regimen, these patients have struck a deal with Dorothy Akinyi, who brings the drugs to them in their homes.
Nikishapima temperature na hizo vitu zote, alafu nampea dawa yake. Hiyo dawa yake ana confirm kama hiyo dawa ni dawa yenye anameza. Kama ni sawa, anaenda nayo. Kama sio sawa, anawacha hapa. Tarudi nayo ili niende ni confirm vizuri ndio tena nimletee.
Sasa mnachukua dawa kutoka huko Madiani, lakini ilikuwa expenses kwa transport. Huko pia ni mbali.
Getting to know one's HIV status is not only important but also critical for healthy living. Joachim Ogutu knows this too well. With strict adherence to medication, the couple now has 2 HIV-negative births, including a 7-year-old twin.
Vile tulijua hali yetu, ilibidi tutembelee facility health center, tujue hali. So vile tulijua hali yetu, ilibidi tuanzie maisha mpya. Tulikuwa nafikiria kwamba tukipatikana namna hiyo ya kwamba hiyo ndio mwisho wa maisha, lakini kulingana na mafunzo tulipata kwa madaktari wetu, walituambia kwamba bado kuna tumaini. Sasa tulianza hiyo mafunzo pale na pale mpaka ikafika wakati tumebarikiwa na hawa twins wetu.
There's no amount of stigma that should stop you from taking your medication, especially if you're a HIV patient, because your medication is your life. My name is Wycliffe Okech, and this is KBC.
All right, okay. Why is my director? Okay, so welcome back. We're almost coming to the end of this particular show. What we can always say is that we really thank you for always finding time to be with us from 6:30 until it's almost 10. Yeah, this is how good we are. Let me just sample some of your feedback here. And there is the. How can you pronounce this name? Seguja Bashir da Silva.
Omusalaba.
Drop Me to Biokore by Henry Katamba. This must be a guy from Uganda. Yes,
yes. My request.
Yes. My friend.
Thursday.
Thursday, that will work. But right now, we don't do requests. We have Rono Kipto Matthew. I'm always watching live at Kangemi, Nairobi. Now, apata loud and clear. Tuko pamoja. Empress Melissa watching from Mombasa. There's another gentleman called Fred Cash watching from Kapsabet. Ben, not Ben Kamote. Ben Jamtani, ama Jamtani. Tune Nikiwa Sotik, Bomet County. Very nice. Over the weekend, we were in Bomet County. It's a nice place, by the way. Very green, fresh, the fresh air. Fred, cheza kama wewe bana. No. Ben, cheza kama wewe. Jen amesema nataka maziwa from that side. It's a fresh milk.
Nimekuwa nimenyamaza.
Yeah?
But apparently nimesema. Ni sawa. Anyway, also just checking on Twitter, we appreciate all of those of you who have tuning. Nona Lumbasio Holman retweeting our feed. Of course, Dukana Grasha Maingi, she's one of our own. Thank you so much for keeping the conversation alive. Pale kwa Gram, Julius Nona follow Pale, the United fans. Nona Pia Regina ki retweet Apple. Kivuva M. Gabriel.
I knew Regina had to retweet that one.
Anthony KM. We also have, let me see, Ed Asna na wamwisho William Okungu. Thank you so much for retweeting our feed and just following the conversation from the onset up until now, where we want to close down the program. And of course, we appreciate you for making time, for tuning in as we started the show up until now. We always appreciate, and you can remember our communication platforms are always open. We welcome you to always share with us your thoughts, check in tujuna tupate ukiwa pande gani hii ya Kenya. But for now, I'm Jino Boy. Vic, before tufunge,
we are being informed that the president will be having a groundbreaking ceremony of a referral hospital. There you have it. The president has just arrived. The pictures that are seeing there live on your screen, there's a live feed from the Kabete barracks, where the president is scheduled to do a groundbreaking ceremony of a referral hospital at the Kabete Barracks. That is just around ABC Place along Wayaki Way. And those are live pictures from the Kabete Barracks. We will give you the details of that particular story during that one. Let me just give you straight there.
As you see here, that is a very important occasion here at Kenya, at Kabete Barracks here in Kiambu County, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is scheduled to preside over a very important event. That is the Kenya National Research and Referral Hospital groundbreaking ceremony. And this is a facility that is going to be a center of excellence in medical care for all security agencies in Kenya, offering comprehensive medical care and acting as a referral facility for the regional hospitals in Kenya. It will also be a medical research facility. And just as I mentioned, President Uhuru Kenyatta has already made his way here. We also have the Health Cabinet Secretary, Mutahi Kagwe, and his counterpart, Defense Cabinet Secretary, Monica Zuma. We also have a number of officials here in this particular event. Very important occasion indeed, just to ensure that the Kenya Defense Forces here at Kabete Barracks are going to get a good service in terms of ensuring that they are safe at this particular time when the country is trying to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember that yesterday, this year's Health Cabinet Secretary read a riot act to a number of facilities that are selling the COVID-19 vaccine, and we expect that particular issue to come from the CS, bearing in mind that that is a very serious issue. And remember also the issue of vaccine. A number of defaulters, 100,000 defaulters so far have been identified who had received the first dose, and they have not received the second dose, and experts say that it poses health risk to them, and therefore we expect this Cabinet Secretary to make a clarion call to those defaulters to show up so that they can get the vaccine. Also remember, also as I've mentioned, the Defense Cabinet Secretary, that is Monica Juma, is here. And remember, yesterday he was nominated for the 7th position of the Secretary General in the Commonwealth, and we expect also her to speak about it because it is a very important docket. Remember that that particular Commonwealth, we have 54 member states that have been selected, and therefore that is an issue that we also expect to come out from the Defense Cabinet Secretary, Monica Zuma. And any time from now, we expect the event to kick out here at Kabete. That's just as I've mentioned, Kenya National Research and Referral Hospital is having a groundbreaking ceremony to ensure that security officers, perhaps they can also get services from our facilities, bearing in mind also they are at the fore in ensuring that our borders are safe. And we also expect a number of officials from the health docket, bearing in mind that we have the CS here, just to ensure that the issue or matters related to health is taken care of in this particular country. Remember also the issue of ensuring that our borders are safe. President Uhuru Kenyatta will also handle that particular issue, bearing in mind that there has been a bit of security threats in this country, and therefore that's an issue that we expect the president to put forward, just to assure the country that our borders are safe and the Kenya Defence Forces are in charge of this particular country. As you can see in your screen, those are some of the officers here that just making sure that this particular event is a success here at Kabete Barracks, a very auspicious occasion indeed, just to ensure that our security officers get services, proper services from facilities that are going to be a groundbreaking ceremony that are going to be done here by the President Uhuru Kenyatta any time from now. We'll be telling you more as the event unfolds here at Kabete Barracks, so keep it KBC Channel 1. Na kama ndio mwanzo unajiunga nasi mtazamaji, ni sherehe ya kuhakikisha kwamba kituo maalum kinafunguliwa hapa katika eneo la Barracks au kambi ya kijeshi ya Barracks, ambapo bila shaka kama nilivyodokeza hapo awali, kiongozi wa taifa ambaye vilevile ni amri jeshi mkuu wa majeshi yote humo nchini, Rais Uhuru Kenyatta tayari ameshawasili katika hafla hii muhimu zaidi ya kuhakikisha kwamba maafisa wa polisi, iwe ni maafisa wa utawala, iwe ni wale maafisa unavyosema kwamba wanajeshi wanahewa, anavyosema Kenya Defense, Kenya Air Force, na vile vile kuna jeshi la wanamaji Kenya Navy, vile jeshi la nchi kavu Kenya Army, ambapo wanaweza kupokea matibabu au wanaweza kupokea masuala ambayo yanahusiana na matibabu, na vile vile kama nilivyodokeza kwamba itakuwa ni kituo cha kipekee hapa katika eneo la Barracks, kambi ya kijeshi ya Barracks, na tayari kiongozi wa taifa yuko hapa katika kuhakikisha kwamba sherehe hii inakuwa ni ya kufanikiwa. Na kama nilivyodokeza hapo awali, Rais Uhuru Kenyatta hayuko peke yake, manake ameandamana na baadhi ya viongozi akiwemo waziri wa ulinzi Monica Juma yuko hapa, vile vile tuna waziri wa afya Mutahi Kagwe yuko hapa kwa mtazamaji, na vile vile tuna baadhi tu ya viongozi wengine ambao wamefika hapa kuhakikisha kwamba sherehe hii inakuwa ni ya kufana zaidi, ili kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba maafisa wa polisi ambao wako kwenye mstari wa mbele kuhakikisha kwamba mipaka yetu inalindwa, waweze kupokea matibabu, waweze kupokea masuala ambayo inaweza kuhakikisha kwamba wako salama ili waweze kulinda nchi hii. Samahani, ni Kabete, kambi ya kijeshi ya Kabete mtazamaji, kama nilivyodokeza hapo awali. Mimi naitwa Timothy Kipnusu, nitakuwa hapa kukupeperushia matangazo haya Kenya pindi tu mkutano huu au hafla hii muhimu itakapokuwa inang'oa nanga rasmi hapa katika kambi ya kijeshi ya Kabete ambayo iko kwenye gatuzi la Kiambu. Na kama nilivyodokeza hapo awali, tunataraji kwamba waziri wa afya Mutahi Kagwe atazungumzia masuala kadha wa kadha, ikiwemo swala la ambalo aliliibua hapo jana kuhusiana na baadhi ya vituo vya afya ambavyo vinauza zile chanjo kwa Wakenya, ila hali chanjo hiyo tu inatolewa na vituo vya afya hapa nchini bila malipo, na kubaliana kwamba hapo jana alitoa onyo kali kwa vituo kama hivyo, na akasema kwamba vitakapopatikana vitachukuliwa hatua kali za kisheria, ikiwemo vituo hivyo kufungwa. Mtazamaji, tunataraji kwamba swala hilo lishachipuka pindi tu waziri wa afya atakapokuwa anazungumza, manake masuala ambayo yanafanyika hii leo inahusiana na wizara yake, manake ni kuzinduliwa kwa kituo cha utafiti na vile vile rufaa kwa maafisa wa kijeshi, ambapo maafisa wote wa kijeshi watakuwa wanapokea matibabu kutoka kwenye kituo hiki ambacho kitakuwa kinazinduliwa rasmi na kiongozi wa taifa ambaye ndiye amri jeshi mkuu wa majeshi yote humu nchini, Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, mtazamaji. Na vile vile swala ambalo liliibuka hapo jana, mtazamaji, kuhusiana tu na wale ambao hawajapokea chanjo hapa nchini, zaidi ya Wakenya 1,100 ambao walikuwa tayari wamepokea chanjo ya kwanza na hawajapokea ile dozi ya pili. Kwa hivyo tunataraji kwamba waziri wa afya atakuwa anaendelea kutoa wito kwa wale ambao hawajaweza kupokea chanjo hiyo, manake alidokeza kwamba wengi wao hawapokei simu wanapopigiwa na baadhi tu ya maafisa wa afya ambao wamejukumika na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba wanapata chanjo wale ambao walikuwa wamepokea dozi ya kwanza, mtazamaji. Kwa hivyo tunataraji kwamba swala hilo litachipuka, ikizingatiwa kwamba kwa sasa zaidi ya Wakenya 1,800 wamepokea chanjo dhidi ya gonjwa hatari la COVID-19. Na kama nilivyodokeza, vile vile waziri wa ulinzi yuko hapa, Monica Juma, na hapo jana ilikuwa ni siku njema kwake. Hapo jana Rais Uhuru Kenyatta jina lake liwekwa wazi katika masuala ya Commonwealth, na tunataraji kwamba swala hilo litachipuka, pengine yaweze kutoa shukrani zake kwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, kumkumbuka na kupeana jina lake kule ili kuweza kuwakilisha Kenya katika masuala yanayohusiana na ulinzi au mipaka yetu, kuhakikisha kwamba iko salama. Na vile vile kama nilivyodokeza hapo awali, kituo hiki kitakapokuwa kinafunguliwa au kunazinduliwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, maafisa wote wa kijeshi au vikosi vyote vya ulinzi hapa nchini, KDF, maafisa utawala, maafisa wote ambao wanahusika na masuala ya usalama, watakuwa na fursa muhimu kuweza kutembelea kituo hiki speciali kupokea matibabu, ikizingatiwa kwamba wao wako kwenye mstari wa mbele kulinda mipaka yetu hapa nchini. Kwa hivyo mtazamaji, wakati wote kutoka sasa, hafla hii muhimu itakuwa inaanza rasmi pindi tu Rais Uhuru Kenyatta ambaye yuko hapa tayari kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba hafla hii inakuwa ni ya ufanisi. Pindi tu atakapokuwa anakuja kwenye jukwaa, hafla hii itakuwa inang'oa nanga rasmi ili kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba kituo hiki kinazinduliwa rasmi, ili kuwapa fursa maafisa wetu wa polisi au vikosi vya ulinzi kuweza kupokea masuala yanayohusiana na afya, ama kuweza kupokea matibabu kutoka kwenye vituo hivi pindi tu atakapokuwa pengine wako wagonjwa, mtazamaji. Kwa hivyo ni hafla muhimu zaidi, hafla speciali kutoka hapa katika kambi ya kijeshi ya Kabete, mtazamaji. Na kama unavyotazama kwenye kiwambo chako, hiyo ni mashini speciali ambayo vile vile inajukumika katika kuhakikisha kwamba hafla hii itakuwa ni ya muhimu zaidi. Kwa hivyo tutaraji kwamba Rais Uhuru Kenyatta atakuwa anaegesha pale na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba kituo hiki kinazinduliwa rasmi kupitia mashini hii speciali ambayo iko hapa, mtazamaji, unavyoona kwenye kiwambo chako, mtazamaji. Kwa hivyo ni hafla ambayo inatarajiwa kung'oa nanga wakati wote kutoka sasa, na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta yuko tayari kwenye jengo hili au kwenye kituo hiki, kambi hii ya kijeshi ya Kabete, kuhakikisha kwamba maafisa wa polisi wanaweza kupokea matibabu, wanaweza kupokea masuala kadha wa kadha yanayohusiana na afya yao, kwamba wawe salama salmin, ili wanapokwenda katika mataifa ya ugaibuni au pengine kuwa wanapokuwa katika harakati zao kufanya kazi, iwe hapa nchini au mataifa ya kule nje, wakisha kwamba Kenya salama, mtazamaji. Kwa hivyo ni hafla muhimu, hafla speciali ya kuzindua rasmi kituo cha utafiti na rufaa kwa maafisa wa usalama hapa katika kambi ya kijeshi katika gatuzi la Kiambu. Na arifiwa na mwelekezi wangu kwamba kuna baadhi tu ya viongozi ambao wanaendelea kufika hapa kuhakikisha kwamba sherehe hizi zinakuwa ni ya kufana, mtazamaji, na tutakuwa tunakueleza ni kina nani tayari wameshawasili katika uzinduzi huu rasmi wa kituo spesheli ya utafiti na rufaa kwa maafisa wa usalama hapa katika gatuzi la Kiambu, kambi ya kijeshi ya Kabete. Endelea kutizama runinga unayoienzi zaidi KBC Channel 1, ambapo tunakuletea matangazo haya kwa ushirikiano na wanahabari ambao wamebobea na kutopea katika usanjari huu wa utangazaji, mtazamaji.
Yao ni nzuri sana.
None other than DJ Shinsky, live in the mix. Log on to www.djshinsky.com.
Mexe o corpo, castigo o corpo sem parar. Então na rota que eu não tinha timidez. O que trazemos hoje é para vocês. Flow, charme, acho que vês. Se ainda estás de fora, mova os pés. Tua pele brilha, girl. És doce, girl. Lábios tipo mel. Encosta mais um pouco, senti-me, sinto leve. Vem me tocar, de me agarrar. Não vai parar, é só continuar. Big bounce, mami. Teu corpo necessita, veja só como resulta. Baby, não vai parar. Vamos tirar, isso vai continuar. Toca, dançar, baby, não vai parar. Vamos tirar, isso vai continuar.
Harmonia dupla, são vozes daquela base. Tira a roupa, toca, dançar e checkmate. Chila com a New Gen, venha sentir o choque. Na city, no ghetto todos sabem que é hot. Hey, tu és a bailarina, entre todas elas tu és a escolhida. Noite longa e não haverá final. Mexe muito bem e como tu não há igual. Agarra-te em mim, essa dança é mesmo assim. Eu sou o teu piloto nessa viagem sem fim. Lady dança, isso nunca mais termina. AG, New Gen.
Toca, dançar, baby, não vai parar. Vamos tirar, isso vai continuar. Toca, dançar, baby.